My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 32 years old. And 9 years ago, my parents left me outside a women's shelter with newborn twins, one suitcase, and $43 in my checking account. Tonight, they are sitting 12 tables away from me beneath a ceiling covered in glass lights. My mother is wearing a silver dress that costs more than my first car. My father keeps checking the printed program as if my name might disappear if he looks away long enough. My brother is smiling for photographs beside people he has lied to for years. They think I am here to receive a small community award. They do not know that the hospital foundation has already accepted my gift. They do not know the amount, and they have no idea that before this night ends, they will watch me give away $100 million they had quietly begun to think belonged to them. By midnight, my brother will lose the lie holding his company together. My mother will lose control of the story she has told about me for almost a decade. My father will finally say the honest thing, though it will come years too late. But I need to back up, because the money was never the beginning. The beginning was a blue hospital folder, 2 crying babies, and a locked front door. Quiet people are often mistaken for weak people. That mistake becomes expensive when the quiet person has kept every receipt. If you have ever been treated like your hardest season was proof of your worth, you will understand why I remember every detail of this story. Tell me where you are listening from, and tell me whether you believe family should earn a place in your life instead of simply claiming one. Stay with me and subscribe, because what happened at that gala only mattered because of everything my family did when no one important was watching. The ballroom smelled like white roses, coffee, and the sharp lemon polish used on the wooden floor. I noticed things like that when I was trying to remain calm. I also counted 12 tables between me and my parents, 8 chairs at each table, 3 security staff near the main doors, 2 foundation lawyers beside the stage, 1 blue folder resting beneath my left hand. I had carried that folder through 9 apartments, 3 office moves, 2 floods, and 1 company sale. The corners had softened. A faded hospital sticker still clung to the front. Someone had written Baby A and Baby B in black ink across the original label. My daughters were sitting beside me. Ruby wore dark blue. June wore green. They had chosen their own dresses, though my mother had sent both of them white dresses without asking. She said white would look more elegant in the photographs. The unopened package was still in the back of my car. Ruby leaned close to me. Grandma keeps looking over here. I know. Do we have to talk to her? Only if you want to. I don't. June heard that and nodded. Me neither. They were 9 years old, but they had already learned the difference between a person who loved them and a person who liked being seen beside them. I had tried not to teach them that lesson too early. My family had done it for me. Across the room, my mother lifted 2 fingers and gave us a small wave. It was the kind she used when she wanted other people to notice how close we were. I gave her a polite nod. Nothing more. Her smile tightened. Fine. Not warm, just fine. That was the word she used for every relationship she could not control. The gala had started at 6:30. By 7:15, my brother Grant had already introduced himself to 6 donors as a founding advisor to my company. He had never worked for my company. He had never advised me. He had once told me my business was a desperate woman's delivery hobby. Now he stood beneath a banner printed with the company's name and allowed people to assume he had helped build it. I watched him place one hand on the shoulder of a local bank president. He laughed too loudly. Grant always laughed that way when he needed someone to believe he belonged in the room. My mother watched him with pride. My father stared at his water glass. That was our family in one picture. Grant performing, my mother approving, my father looking down, and me outside the frame. The foundation chair, Dr. Lydia Chen, touched my arm. "Still comfortable with the order?" she asked. "Yes." "We can change it." "No, let him speak." Her eyes moved toward Grant. "He's making some large claims." I know. You're sure? I rested my palm on the blue folder. I've been sure for 9 years. She did not ask again. People often thought strength looked like speaking first. Sometimes strength was letting a person finish the lie before opening the record. I had not always known that. At 23, I still believed truth would defend itself. I thought people who loved you would eventually notice when they had hurt you. I believed if I explained myself clearly enough, my mother would understand. If I stayed calm enough, my father would act. If I worked hard enough, Grant would stop treating my life like a warning sign. I was wrong about all three. I grew up in a narrow brick house on Delaney Street in a town called Bellwether, 40 minutes north of Baltimore. The front steps tilted slightly to the left. The kitchen window rattled whenever a truck passed. In winter, the upstairs hallway smelled faintly of dust and hot metal from the old radiator. My mother, Diane, hated that house. She called it our starter home for 18 years. Every spring, she painted something white: kitchen cabinets, door frames, the brick fireplace. Once she painted an old wooden table while my father was at work because she said dark wood made the room look poor. My father, Robert, ran the accounting department for a regional construction supplier. He left home at 7:10 every morning and returned at 6:20 unless my mother had asked him to stop somewhere. He was not a loud man. That used to make me think he was gentle. It took me years to understand that silence could do as much damage as shouting when it always protected the wrong person. Grant was 4 years older than me. He had our mother's confidence and our father's talent for numbers, though he rarely used either carefully. He was handsome in the easy way that made adults forgive him before he apologized. Teachers remembered his jokes. Coaches remembered his name. My mother saved every newspaper clipping from his high school baseball games, even the ones where he did not play. My report cards went into a kitchen drawer. Grant got a desk when he was 12 because he needed a place to focus. I did my homework at the laundry counter. When I was 14, I rebuilt my father's monthly expense sheet after noticing he had been entering vendor discounts in the wrong column. The mistake was costing his department almost $6,000 a quarter. He stared at my handwritten calculations for a long time. Then he said, "You have a good eye." My mother looked over his shoulder. "Grant is the real business mind in this family," she said. "Natalie just notices little things." I remember the hum of the refrigerator behind me. I remember the wet sleeve of my sweater where it touched the laundry sink. I remember counting 4 seconds before my father folded the paper. He did not correct her. That became the shape of my childhood. I noticed little things. Grant had potential. I was useful when something needed fixing and difficult when I wanted credit. At 16, I worked weekends at a pharmacy on Mason Ave. I stocked shelves, handled deliveries, and cleaned the little blood pressure machine near the back wall. The delivery driver, Mr. Phelps, was 68 and always smelled like peppermint and motor oil. One Saturday, he arrived with half our order missing. The supplier had sent the insulin coolers to a dental clinic and the dental supplies to us. The pharmacy owner started making angry calls while 2 patients waited for medicine that was not there. I asked Mr. Phelps to show me his route sheet. 3 addresses had been entered with the same postal code even though they were in different towns. I drew a new route on the back of a paper bag. We called the dental clinic. Mr. Phelps drove there first, exchanged the boxes, and returned in 42 minutes. The pharmacy owner gave me a $20 gift card. My mother said I should not get too excited about solving delivery problems. "People like you always confuse being helpful with being important," she told me. "People like you." She never explained what kind of person that was. I think she meant a daughter who noticed when the room had been arranged to keep her at the edge. After high school, Grant attended a private university in Pennsylvania. My parents paid his tuition, rent, meal plan, and membership in a business club that cost $1,200 a year. I received a brochure for the community college. My mother placed it beside my cereal bowl. "It makes more sense for you," she said. I had been accepted by 2 four-year schools. One offered partial aid. The remaining cost was still less than half of Grant's tuition. My father read the acceptance letter and cleared his throat. Your mother has looked at the numbers. I looked at him. Did you? He folded the letter once, then twice. We have to be practical. Grant had already changed his major 3 times. I had worked since I was 16 and saved almost every dollar. But practicality in our house was a rule that only seemed to apply to me. I attended community college during the day and worked evenings at a medical supply warehouse near the interstate. It was a gray building with no windows on the loading side and a break room that smelled like reheated soup. I liked the work. Orders arrived as numbers on a screen. Behind every number was a real need. A box of wound dressings for a nursing home, replacement tubing for a dialysis center, a portable oxygen unit for a child being discharged from the hospital. Most workers saw packages. I saw time. If a truck left 20 minutes late, someone waited 20 minutes longer for something they needed. I learned which roads flooded first, which clinics closed their receiving doors at 5, which drivers could handle downtown traffic, and which warehouse supervisor signed forms without reading them. I kept notebooks. Little things. At 19, I designed a simple track, king sheet that cut our late deliveries by 11%. My supervisor used it for 6 months before presenting it at a regional meeting as his own idea. When I told my father, he said I should consider it a compliment. When I told my mother, she laughed. You always think someone is taking something from you. At 21, I was promoted to night dispatch coordinator. My mother told people I answered phones at a warehouse. Grant graduated the same year with a degree in finance and no job. My parents held a dinner for 46 guests. There were gold balloons near the fireplace and a cake shaped like a stock market arrow. My mother asked me to pick up the ice. During dinner, Grant stood and thanked our parents for believing in him. Everyone clapped. I was in the kitchen opening bags of ice with a pair of scissors. A year later, Grant started a small investment company called Mercer Ridge Partners. Mercer was our mother's maiden name. Ridge came from a golf course where he had once attended a charity event. He rented an office with glass walls and hired a photographer before he had any clients. My mother framed the photograph. That same month, I learned I was pregnant. The twins' father was named Evan Cole. We met at the warehouse where he worked in fleet maintenance. He was funny without trying, kind to older employees, and good with his hands. He could listen to a truck engine for 10 seconds and tell you which belt was loose. For almost 2 years, I believed we were building something steady. When I showed him the positive test, he sat at our kitchen table and rubbed both hands over his face. I counted 7 seconds before he spoke. Are you sure? I showed him the second test. He stared at it. Then he asked whether I had considered that we were not ready. I had considered it. I considered the $860 in our joint savings account, the 1-bedroom apartment, my night shifts, his unpredictable hours, the health insurance, the unpaid leave. I also considered the small, fierce feeling that had appeared inside me the moment I saw the result. I know we're not ready, I said, but they're here. At the first ultrasound, the technician smiled and said, There are 2. Evan gripped my hand. For 1 bright minute, we laughed. By the 5th month, he was sleeping on the couch. By the 7th, he had taken a maintenance job in Ohio. He said he needed time to think. He took the better car. He left me the rent. My mother's first response was not concern. It was embarrassment. What did you do to make him leave? We were standing in her kitchen. She was slicing lemons for water because 2 women from her garden club were coming over. I didn't make him leave. Men don't usually walk away from newborn children without a reason. They're not born yet. She pressed the knife through another lemon. That makes it worse. My father was sitting at the table reading an email on his phone. I looked at him. He did not raise his eyes. I had been ordered onto partial bed rest. The warehouse moved me to unpaid leave. My savings disappeared into rent, food, and appointments. I asked whether I could stay in my old room for 3 months. Not forever. 3 months. I had calculated the cost. I had a plan to return to work 6 weeks after delivery. A coworker knew someone who offered childcare from her home. I would contribute groceries and utilities. My mother wiped lemon juice from the cutting board. Grant is using that room when he visits. He has an apartment. He needs a place here too. I'm asking for 3 months. You are asking us to absorb the consequences of your choices. The room went very quiet. The refrigerator clicked on. A car passed outside. I counted 5 small seeds on the cutting board. My father finally spoke. Maybe we should discuss it later. My mother looked at him. Not angrily. She rarely needed anger. We are discussing it now. That ended his part. I went home and packed a hospital bag. Ruby and June were born on a rainy Thursday in March. Ruby came first, small and furious, with dark hair stuck to her forehead. June arrived 11 minutes later, silent for 2 terrible seconds before filling the room with a sharp cry. I counted those 2 seconds for years. 1, 2, then sound, then breath, then relief so strong it hurt. They were early but healthy enough to avoid the neonatal intensive care unit. We stayed 4 nights because my blood pressure would not settle and June had trouble feeding. My mother visited once. She brought 1 pink blanket. She took 14 photographs. In every picture, she held the baby closest to the camera. My father stood near the window with his hands in his pockets. He touched Ruby's foot and smiled, but when I asked whether they had reconsidered letting us stay, he glanced toward the hallway. "We'll talk when you're discharged." My mother heard him. "There is nothing to talk about." A nurse named Carla was checking my blood pressure. Her hand paused on the cuff. My mother gave her a soft smile. Families have complicated histories. Carla looked at me, not her. Sometimes they do. After my parents left, she returned with a blue plastic folder. It held discharge papers, feeding charts, 2 birth certificate forms, and a list of community resources. She tapped 1 page. "This shelter has private family rooms," she said. "It's clean. They work with mothers returning to employment." I stared at the address. Haven House, 28 miles from my parents' home. "I have an apartment. Can you afford it next month?" I did not answer. She sat on the edge of the chair. "You don't have to decide this minute, but information is not failure." That sentence stayed with me. Information is not failure. Neither is needing help. Neither is surviving. I called Haven House that afternoon. They had 1 family room available. I told myself it would be temporary. On discharge morning, my father arrived alone. For 15 minutes, I believed he had come to take us home. He loaded the suitcase into his car. He carried the twins' car seats carefully, 1 in each hand. He checked the straps twice. I sat in the passenger seat with the blue folder against my chest. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet. Water ran along the curb in thin silver lines. He drove past Delaney Street. I turned toward him. "Where are we going?" He kept both hands on the wheel. "Your mother thinks the shelter is best." I felt the air leave my body without making a sound. "You agree with her?" He drove through a yellow light. "It's not about agreeing. It is exactly about agreeing. We don't want to create a pattern where you expect us to rescue you." I looked into the back seat. 2 car seats. 2 sleeping babies. 1 yellow blanket. 1 pink. I asked for 3 months. He swallowed. "Your mother feels strongly." I counted the white lines passing beside the car. 1, 2, 3. At 12, I stopped. "Turn around." "Natalie, turn around and take us home." He did not. When we reached Haven House, he parked near the curb instead of pulling into the lot. The building was an old converted church with red doors and a wooden ramp. A woman in a brown coat stood beneath the awning, waiting. My father opened the trunk. He placed my suitcase on the wet sidewalk, then the diaper bag, then the plastic bag holding the hospital blanket my mother had bought. I remained in the car. "Dad," he closed the trunk. "Please don't do this." His face changed then. Not enough, but it changed. He looked old for the first time. You made your choice, he said quietly. Now live with it. It sounded rehearsed. My mother's sentence in my father's mouth. He carried Ruby's seat to the awning. The woman in the brown coat came forward and took it. Then he returned for June. I stepped out of the car slowly, because the stitches pulled when I moved too fast. My legs shook. Not from crying. I did not cry until much later. The woman introduced herself as Evelyn Price. She was 63, with short gray hair and glasses hanging from a dark red cord around her neck. She held June's car seat in one hand and offered me the other. Watch the curb, she said. That was all. No questions. No pity. Just watch the curb. My father placed the suitcase beside us. He looked at the twins. Then at me. For 1 second, I thought he might change his mind. Instead, he reached into his wallet and handed me $40. I looked at the bills, 2 20s. My account balance was $3.17, $43. That was the amount between my daughters and nothing. He touched my shoulder. I stepped back. His hand fell. I'll call you, he said. He did. 4 days later, I did not answer. Evelyn carried one baby. I carried the other. A staff member took the suitcase. As we passed through the red doors, I heard my father's car pull away. I counted the sound of his tires crossing the cracks in the road. 4 soft bumps. Then nothing. For anyone listening who has ever stood at a closed door holding more responsibility than money, comment the word folder. That blue folder looked like cheap hospital plastic, but it became the first place I stored the truth. Stay with me, because the people who saw a helpless mother had no idea what I was already learning to build. Haven House had 12 bedrooms, 1 shared kitchen, 3 bathrooms, and a playroom with a carpet printed like a town map. The walls were pale yellow. The hallway smelled like laundry soap, tomato soup, and baby powder. My room held a twin bed, 2 donated bassinets, a small dresser, and a wooden chair with 1 loose arm. I placed the blue folder in the top drawer. Then I sat on the bed with Ruby in my arms and June beside me. The room was quiet except for the old heater ticking near the window. I stared at the red door across the hall. That was when I cried. Not loudly. I had never been a loud crier. Tears slid down my face and onto Ruby's blanket. I wiped them away so they would not reach her skin. I thought about my old room on Delaney Street. The pale walls. The desk Grant had left scratched and empty. The closet filled with my mother's extra coats because she said there was no space anywhere else. There had been space, just not for us. Evelyn knocked once and entered carrying a tray. Grilled cheese, tomato soup, apple slices, a paper cup of water. You need to eat, she said. I'm not hungry. That wasn't what I said. She set the tray on the dresser. Ruby began to fuss. Evelyn washed her hands in the small sink and held out her arms. May I? I hesitated, then gave Ruby to her. She held her with the calm of someone who had carried many babies but did not assume she owned them. You work here? I asked. 3 days a week. What do you do? Whatever is late. I almost smiled. She noticed. Today, lunch was late. Yesterday, the heating company was late. Last week, a grant report was late. And before this, I ran hospital operations for 31 years. That explained the way she moved. Nothing wasted. Every action already decided. She looked around. The room. You have family nearby? Yes. Are they safe? Yes. Are they useful? I looked at her. No. Those are different questions. She did not ask for the whole story. That made me want to tell her. I gave her the smaller version. Twins, boyfriend gone, parents unwilling, job waiting maybe, apartment unaffordable. She listened without shaking her head or making soft sounds. When I finished, she adjusted Ruby's blanket. "What are you good at?" The question surprised me. "I don't know. That is usually not true. I worked in dispatch." "Were you good at it?" "Yes." "How good?" I almost gave her the polite answer. "Pretty good." "Fine." Instead, I told the truth. I reduced late deliveries by 11%. How? Better route grouping, clearer priority codes. I tracked receiving hours. Some facilities closed loading access earlier than the system showed. Did the company use your process? Yes. Did they pay you for creating it? No. She looked down at Ruby. Of course they didn't. There was no anger in her voice, only recognition. She returned Ruby to me. "Eat while the soup is warm." Then she walked toward the door. "Evelyn?" She turned. "Why did you ask what I'm good at?" "Because knowing what failed you is useful for one night. Knowing what you can do is useful for the rest of your life." That was the first thing anyone said to me after the twins were born that did not make me feel smaller. I ate every bite. The next weeks moved in short pieces. Feed Ruby. Feed June. Change Ruby. Change June. Wash bottles. Sleep 37 minutes. Wake. Repeat. The shelter helped me apply for food support and temporary childcare assistance. A caseworker named Lorna found a small 2-bedroom apartment above a bakery for $690 a month. The walls were thin and the bathroom floor leaned toward the tub, but the landlord accepted the shelter's deposit program. I called the warehouse. My supervisor said my position had been filled. He offered me part-time weekend inventory work at $3 less per hour. I accepted. Pride did not buy diapers. Evelyn watched the twins during my first Saturday shift because the childcare program had not started yet. When I returned to Haven House, she had placed both bassinets near the office desk. Ruby was asleep. June was staring at the ceiling fan as if trying to understand engineering. "How was work?" Evelyn asked. "They changed the dispatch software." "Better?" "No." "Why?" "It treats every facility the same. A hospital order and a dental office order can get the same urgency if someone clicks the wrong box." "Will that happen?" It already did. I opened my bag and removed 3 folded sheets. During my break, I had written a list of problems with the new system. Evelyn read all 3 pages. "You did this today?" "During lunch." "Why?" "Because it's wrong." She looked at me over her glasses. Most businesses are built because something is wrong, and one person gets tired of waiting for permission to fix it. I laughed once. "I have 2 babies, a weekend warehouse job, and no permanent address." "You also have a working mind." "That doesn't pay for anything." "It can." She folded the pages and handed them back. "Put them in your folder." "What folder?" "The blue one." I had nearly forgotten it. That evening, I placed the route notes behind the twins' discharge papers. A week later, I added the rejection email from my old supervisor after I applied for a full-time dispatch opening. Then the receipt for my first used laptop. $185. The computer was heavy, scratched, and missing the letter N from the keyboard. I bought it from a college student who met me outside a coffee shop. I added a handwritten list of every clinic within 20 miles of Bellwether. Then another list: receiving hours, delivery problems, emergency vendors. After a month, the folder no longer closed flat. My parents did not visit Haven House. My mother called twice. The first time, she asked whether I had told anyone why I was there. "The truth," I said. "What version of the truth?" "The one where you had an empty bedroom and sent your newborn granddaughters to a shelter." Her voice went cool. "We did not send you anywhere. You chose a resource that matched your situation. You had Dad drive us. You are making this uglier than it was." That was one of her gifts. She could take a cruel act, remove every active verb, and make it sound like weather. The second time she called, she asked for photographs of the twins. I sent one. She posted it online with the words, "My beautiful grandbabies. Family is everything." I stared at the post for 11 seconds, then I turned off my phone. My father left 2 voicemails. The first said he hoped we were doing okay. The second said my mother was hurt that I had been distant. Neither asked what we needed. Grant sent a message at 2 in the morning. "Mom says you're living at some church place." "That's rough. Let me know if you need business advice." At the time, his company had one client. It was our father. I did not reply. 6 weeks after arriving at Haven House, I moved into the apartment above the bakery. The owner, Mrs. Alvarez, handed me 2 keys tied with green string. "The front lock sticks," she said. "Pull the door toward you before turning." The apartment smelled like sugar every morning at Faux. R30, when the bakers started the first trays. For years afterward, cinnamon smelled like safety to me. My furniture consisted of 2 cribs donated by the shelter, a mattress on the floor, a folding table, and the loose armchair from my room at Haven House. Evelyn asked the shelter director if I could take it because no one else wanted it. I tightened the arm with a borrowed screwdriver. Then I sat in that chair every night with the laptop balanced on my knees. I returned to work 4 days a week. The twins attended a licensed home daycare run by a woman named Sheila Ford. She charged $70 per day for both, which was less than anyone else, but still more than half my take-home pay. I worked Saturdays at the warehouse. On Sundays, I cleaned offices with Lorna from the shelter. At night, I built spreadsheets. I tracked medical deliveries the way other people tracked sports scores, which companies arrived late, which clinics had no loading dock, which pharmacies paid extra for weekend service, which roads became useless after heavy rain. I called small clinics and pretended I was conducting a school project. Most receptionists ignored me. Some answered. A pediatric clinic on Walnut Street had missed vaccine shipments 3 times in 1 year because the delivery company arrived after the refrigerator technician left. A dialysis office paid emergency courier fees almost every Friday. A physical therapy center received boxes meant for another location twice a month because the addresses were almost identical. I wrote everything down. The blue folder became 2 folders, then 3. Evelyn visited every Wednesday evening. She brought soup, fruit, or diapers, but never all 3. She said too much help could make a person feel studied. She reviewed my notes. "You're collecting problems," she said. "I'm looking for patterns." "What will you do when you find one?" "I don't know." "That answer is getting old." I looked at her. She smiled. Not warmly, not coldly, honestly. "I think small clinics need a delivery service that understands medical priorities," I said. "Not a normal courier. A service that knows what can wait and what can't." "Good. I don't have trucks." "Do you need trucks?" "I would need drivers." "Do you need employees?" "I don't know." "Find out." So I did. I learned about independent drivers, commercial insurance, medical handling rules, temperature logs, and chain of custody forms. I read state regulations after the twins fell asleep. I called agencies and asked questions until someone answered. I did not pretend to know what I did not know. That saved me more than once. By the twins' first birthday, I had created a basic routing program using spreadsheet formulas and a cheap mapping tool. It was not elegant. It froze often, but it could sort deliveries by urgency, receiving time, distance, and temper, a chore need. I named it Blue Line. The name came from the faded blue edge of the hospital folder. My first client was not a hospital. It was a small women's clinic 3 blocks from Haven House. Their regular courier had failed to deliver lab samples before closing time on 4 separate Fridays. The clinic manager, Denise, agreed to let me coordinate 1 month of deliveries. I charged $800. After paying drivers, insurance, fuel allowances, and software costs, I kept $112. I framed the first invoice. Not because of the amount, because it had my company's name on it, Blue Line Medical Logistics. At the bottom, under services provided, it said, 0 missed delivery windows. I placed a copy in the folder. When I showed Evelyn, she traced the printed total with one finger. Now you know it works. For one clinic. One is how counting begins. Within 6 months, I had 4 clients. Within a year, I had 9. I still worked at the warehouse because I could not risk losing steady income. I ran Blue Line from the folding table after midnight. Sheila kept the twins for an extra hour twice a week. I paid her in cash and fixed her computer when it stopped connecting to the internet. Every dollar had a place. Rent, childcare, food, insurance, drivers, software, emergency savings. I kept separate envelopes inside a kitchen drawer, one for taxes, one for car repairs, one for the twins. The envelope marked "Me" remained empty for 18 months. I did not tell my family. At first, there was nothing impressive to tell. Later, silence became protection. My mother believed I still worked part-time in a warehouse. My father thought I handled some delivery scheduling. Grant called Blue Line my side hustle. They never asked enough questions to learn more. The first time my parents visited the apartment, the twins were 14 months old. My mother stood in the doorway and looked at the narrow hall. "This is cozy," she said. Cozy was another word she used when she meant small. She brought matching stuffed rabbits for the twins and no diapers, food, or offer to help. My father carried a box containing an old coffee machine. "We were going to donate it," he said. "Your mother thought you might use it." I did not drink coffee. Grant arrived 20 minutes later in a new black car. He parked in the bakery's loading space and complained when a worker asked him to move. At dinner, my mother asked whether I had considered going back to school for something practical. "I'm building a company," Grant smiled. "With the delivery thing?" "Yes." "How many trucks do you own?" "None." He laughed. My mother looked embarrassed for me. Grant leaned back in the loose armchair. "You can't have a logistics company without assets." "I use contracted drivers." "So you're a dispatcher. Own the client relationships, routing system, compliance process, and contracts." He lifted both hands. "All right. No need to get defensive." I was not defensive. That was another family trick. They insulted me. I answered. Then my answer became the problem. My father asked what the company earned. Before I could respond, my mother said, "Robert, don't make her uncomfortable." I looked at her. "I'm not uncomfortable." Grant cut a piece of bakery cake with the side of his fork. "Revenue is not profit anyway." "That's true," I said. He looked pleased. "My revenue last month was $38,000. Profit was a little over 9. Silence. Real silence. The kind that does not need counting. My father lowered his fork. Grant's smile disappeared for half a second. My mother recovered first. "Well," she said, "that is a nice start. A nice start. $9,000 in monthly profit from a folding table. A nice start." Grant cleared his throat. "You need to scale before another company copies you." "I know. You should bring in someone with financial experience." "I have an accountant." "I mean someone who understands growth." "I understand growth." My mother reached for the water pitcher. "He's trying to help." "No," I said. "He's trying to enter something after it has started working." Grant laughed again, but this time it sounded thinner. "You always assume the worst." I looked at him. "Did you ask how you could help when I lived at Haven House?" His face hardened. My mother placed the pitcher down too quickly. Water moved over the rim. "We are not doing this in front of the children. They can't understand us. That doesn't make it appropriate. You posted their photograph while I was living in a shelter and wrote that family was everything." My father stared at the table. Grant looked toward the window. My mother folded her napkin. "We came here to celebrate their birthday. You came here 3 months late. We had commitments. You live 40 minutes away." She stood. "I will not be attacked after making an effort." That was how the visit ended. My mother gathered the rabbits, then seemed to remember they had been gifts and put them back. My father hugged me with one arm. Grant whispered, "You need to let things go." They left before the twins woke from their nap. I watched their car turn at the end of the street. Then I sat at the folding table and opened the blue folder. Behind the hospital papers, I placed the napkin from dinner. On it, I wrote the date and one sentence. They only respect what they think they can use. It was not revenge. It was a record. There is a difference. Revenge wants pain. A record wants the truth to remain still long enough to be seen. By the time Ruby and June turned 2, Blue Line served 18 clinics, 4 pharmacies, and 1 small hospital network. I hired my first employee, a former warehouse coordinator named Marcus Lee. He was 51, careful, and impossible to impress. During his interview, he studied the routing system for 10 minutes. "This will break at 50 daily stops," he said. "Can you fix it?" "Yes." "Then you're hired." He did. At 70 stops, it broke again. We fixed it together. Marcus became operations director 5 years later. At the beginning, he worked from the other side of my folding table while the twins built towers from empty formula cans. We moved into a small office above a tire shop. The rent was $1,050 a month. The floor shook whenever the mechanics used the heavy lift below us. I bought 4 used desks from a closing insurance agency. One drawer contained someone's old birthday card. Another contained 37 paperclips and a mint. We kept all of it. Blue Line's first major test came during a winter storm. Ice closed part of the interstate. 2 hospitals needed replacement heart monitor leads. A rural clinic needed refrigerated medication before 6. Larger delivery companies delayed every order until the roads cleared. We did not. Marcus found 2 drivers with 4-wheel drive vehicles. I built alternate routes using county roads and called every receiving site myself. The final package arrived at 5:43. The clinic director sent an email saying our service had prevented them from canceling treatment for 11 patients. I printed it. Blue folder. 2 months later, that clinic joined a regional network. They recommended us. The new contract was worth $1.8 million over 3 years. I called Evelyn first. She was at Haven House, fixing a jammed printer. "Say the number again," she told me. 1.8 million? Revenue? Yes. Profit? Maybe 300,000 over 3 years. Good. You know the difference. I laughed. Then I cried. Evelyn waited. She never tried to stop honest tears. "What will you do?" she asked. "Hire." "What else?" "Move to a proper office." "What else?" I looked toward the corner where Ruby and June were coloring shipping boxes. "I'm going to start a child care fund for employees." There was a pause. "That," she said, "is how you remember where you came from without staying there." If you are feeling the anger of watching people appear only after something begins to shine, comment the word blue. Some people ignore the whole storm, then arrive asking who owns the umbrella. Subscribe and stay with me because my family had not yet seen the real size of what I was building, and when they finally did, they did not come looking for forgiveness. They came looking for access. The regional contract changed everything. Not overnight. Nothing real happened overnight. It happened through payroll errors, missed sleep, insurance audits, driver shortages, software crashes, and calls at 3 in the morning. It happened through one client paying 47 days late while I still paid drivers on time. It happened through a hospital administrator telling me our company was too small, then calling 6 weeks later when the larger vendor failed. It happened through Ruby learning to tie her shoes under my desk. It happened through June falling asleep inside an empty cardboard box while Marcus and I prepared a bid. It happened through Evelyn sitting in the corner with a red pen, reading every contract before I could afford a lawyer. She found a dangerous cancellation clause in our first hospital agreement. She circled it 3 times. "Never sign a contract written as if only the other side deserves protection," she said. I hired a lawyer the following month. Samuel Ortiz was 38 then. with a calm voice and a habit of removing his glasses whenever someone lied to him. He reviewed our company structure and asked why I owned everything personally. Because I started it. That is not the question. I did not understand. He explained liability, ownership, trusts, and succession in plain language. He never made me feel foolish for not knowing. People who truly understand something rarely need to make others feel small. Samuel helped me create a holding company. He helped register the routing software. He helped write employment agreements that did not punish people for leaving. He also asked about the twins. What happens to the company if something happens to you? That question kept me awake. I had built a business. I had not built protection. My parents were still my legal next of kin in several records. My father was listed as an emergency contact on an old form. I had no will, no guardianship plan, no clear instructions. The thought of my mother taking control of the girls even briefly made my hands cold. Within 2 weeks, everything changed. Evelyn agreed to serve as temporary guardian if needed. A trusted friend from the shelter, Lorna, agreed to become long-term guardian. The company shares went into a trust for Ruby and June. My parents received nothing. Grant received nothing. I placed the signed copies in a new fireproof box. The originals were stored with Samuel. A copy of the first page went into the blue folder. By then, the folder had been repaired twice with clear tape. I could have replaced it. I never did. My mother first learned that Blue Line had become serious from a newspaper article. The title read, "Local Mother Builds Fast-Growing Medical Delivery Company." The photograph showed me standing beside 3 drivers outside our new office. Ruby and June were 5. They held a sign Marcus had made from a cardboard box. My mother called. At 7:12 in the morning. "You never told us you were being interviewed. You never asked what I was working on. That is not fair." "It is exact." She ignored that. "The photograph is nice, though I wish you had worn something brighter." I looked at the blue blouse I had thought carefully about buying. "Was there something else?" "Your father and I would like to take you to dinner." "Why?" "To celebrate. The company has existed for 5 years. We did not understand how established it had become." There it was. Not pride, not apology. Scale. They had not understood the scale. I declined dinner. My mother invited us to Thanksgiving instead. I almost said no. Then Ruby asked why we never visited Grandma's house. I had tried to protect the girls without feeding them my bitterness. They knew my parents had not helped when they were babies. They did not know the shelter details. I agreed. Thanksgiving became the first of several wounds I should have expected. My mother seated Grant beside my father at the head of the table. I sat near the kitchen door between the twins. There were 12 guests. My mother introduced Grant as our family entrepreneur. Then she introduced me as our busy single mother. Grant's company had lost money for 3 straight years. Mine employed 32 people. During dinner, one guest asked about the newspaper article. My mother answered before I could. Natalie has always been good at organizing little details. The sentence returned from my childhood so cleanly that I almost admired her memory. Grant raised his wine glass. "She's built a solid operation. I've given her some thoughts on scaling." I placed my fork down. "What thoughts?" He smiled. "You know, general strategy. Name one." The guest looked between us. Grant's jaw tightened. "I'm not going to discuss private family business at dinner." "It is not family business." My mother gave me a warning look. "Please do not turn a compliment into a confrontation." It wasn't a compliment. My father cut his turkey into small pieces. I counted them. 9. He did not eat any. After dinner, my mother asked us to stand by the fireplace for a family photograph. She arranged people with both hands, moving them like furniture. Grant and his wife in the middle. My parents beside them, the twins in front. I stood at the edge. My mother looked through the camera. Natalie, move back a little. You're blocking the flowers. I moved half a step. No, more. I looked behind me. There was nowhere to go except into the hallway. Ruby reached for my hand. I want Mommy next to me. My mother lowered the camera. You'll still be able to see her. I want her here. June took my other hand. My mother sighed. Fine. Not warm, just fine. The photograph was taken with both girls pressed against me and my mother's smile slightly broken. 2 weeks later, she mailed holiday cards. The photograph had been cropped. My left shoulder remained. The rest of me was gone. The twins were fully visible. My mother had removed me while keeping my children. I held that card at my kitchen counter for a long time. Then I placed it in the blue folder. Not revenge, a record. By the next Thanksgiving, I stopped attending. My mother told relatives I had become too busy for family. That story suited her. It turned my boundary into arrogance and her cruelty into confusion. Blue Line continued to grow. We signed contracts in 3 states, then 5. We built our own software platform and licensed it to regional providers. Hospitals could see temperature, location, custody, and delay risks in real time. The little spreadsheet, created above a bakery, became a system used for thousands of deliveries each week. Investors called. I said no. Competitors offered to buy us. I said no again. Then, when the twins were 8, a national healthcare company offered to purchase 60% of Blue Line while allowing me to keep operational control for 3 years. The first offer was $112 million. Samuel told me not to react. Marcus told me it was too low. Evelyn asked what I wanted the money to do. Not what I wanted to buy. What I wanted the money to do. That question changed the negotiation. We did not sell for $112 million. We sold 60% for $187 million, with performance payments that could raise the total beyond $220. After taxes, employee bonuses, legal fees, and reinvestment, my personal proceeds were more money than anyone in my family had ever imagined. I did not buy a mansion. I bought a 4-bedroom house near the twins' school with a wide kitchen and a small garden. I replaced my 12-year-old car with a safe one. I paid Sheila's remaining mortgage. I created education accounts for every child of a Blue Line employee who had been with us more than 5 years. Then I called Evelyn. She was 72 by then. She lived in a small condo near Haven House and still volunteered twice a week. I want to give away $100 million, I said. She was silent for 6 seconds. I counted. Then she asked, all at once? Through a foundation plan. Shelters, neonatal care, child care, emergency housing, training programs. Why 100? Because it's enough that no one can call it symbolic. Will you still be secure? Yes. Will the girls? Yes. Are you doing it because of your parents? No. Are you sure? I looked at the blue folder on my desk. Yes. That answer was mostly true. I was not giving away money to punish my parents. But I knew what they would think if they learned I had it. They would call it family wealth. They would rewrite the empty bedroom. They would rewrite the shelter. They would rewrite $40 on wet pavement. Money had a way of making people remember support they never gave. I wanted the gift placed beyond their reach before they learned enough to ask. Evelyn exhaled. Then do it carefully. Samuel created the legal structure. Priya Shah, a private bank executive, verified the funds and transfer plan. Dr. Lydia Chen worked with us to build the Hospital Foundation Partnership. The gift would fund 6 programs across 3 states: emergency housing for mothers leaving hospitals without safe homes, neonatal follow-up care, child care grants for low-income medical workers, transportation support for rural clinics, training scholarships for women entering logistics and hospital operations, and a permanent expansion of Haven House. The new family wing would carry Evelyn's name. She refused at first. I ignored her. The announcement was scheduled for the Hospital Foundation Gala in October, the same hospital where Ruby and June had been born, the same hospital where Nurse Carla had handed me the blue folder. I thought the evening would belong to the programs, the staff, and the women they would help. Then my brother found out about the sale, and my family's interest in me changed almost overnight. Grant called first. Natalie? Huge news. I was in a conference room reviewing employee transition plans. What news? The Blue Line deal. How did you hear? It's in an industry bulletin. The agreement had been public for 43 minutes. He sounded breathless. This is the kind of exit we always talked about. We never talked about an exit. I mean conceptually. We never talked about the company. He laughed. You know what I mean. I don't. There was a pause. Then his voice softened. I'm proud of you. He had never said that before. Not when I signed the first clinic. Not when we crossed 1 million in revenue. Not when the newspaper article appeared. Not when our system helped move emergency supplies during a hurricane. Now, after $187 million, he was proud. I leaned back in my chair. What do you need? The question offended him. I don't need anything. Then why are you calling? Because you're my sister. I was your sister when I lived at Haven House. His breathing changed. Are we still doing this? We never did it. That's the problem. He ended the call 5 minutes later, but not before mentioning that Mercer Ridge was opening a healthcare investment division. He said Blue Line could become the first major partnership. I told him no. My mother called that evening. She cried. Not about the shelter, not about the years. She cried because she had learned about the sale from someone at her garden club. Do you know how humiliating that was? She asked. I stood at my kitchen window watching June chase Ruby through the garden. Yes. You do? I know what it's like to discover that your family has a whole life they chose not to share with you. She went quiet. Then she said, That is completely different. Of course it was. Everything was different when it happened to her. She invited us to dinner. I declined. She offered to host a celebration. I declined. She said Grant had valuable ideas about protecting family assets. I nearly laughed. There are no family assets. Natalie, don't be childish. The company is mine. You built it while carrying our name. My name is Brooks. So is Dad's. Grant named his company after your family. That is not the point. It usually is. She lowered her voice. Money changes people. No, it introduces them. She hung up. 3 days later, my father appeared at my office. He had never visited before. The receptionist called upstairs. There's a Robert Brooks here. He says he's your father. I stared at the phone. Marcus was across the desk reviewing a staffing chart. You want me to remove him? He asked. No. Want me to stay? Yes. My father entered wearing a brown jacket I remembered from childhood. He looked smaller than he had at the shelter curb. His eyes moved around the office. 40 employees worked on that floor. Screens displayed routes across 9 states. A wall map showed every active delivery. He took it in slowly. I didn't know it was like this. You didn't ask. He nodded once. Marcus remained seated. My father looked at him. This is Marcus Lee, our operations director, I said. Marcus offered no hand. My father sat. I came to say congratulations. Thank you. And to talk. About what? Your mother is worried. She usually is when she can't control the information. He looked down. Natalie. What is she worried about? The sale? Taxes? People taking advantage? I have lawyers and financial advisors. Grant understands investments. Grant has lost client money for 3 years. His head lifted. How do you know that? Public filings. Lawsuits. 2 former employees contacted Samuel after Grant started claiming he had a role in Blue Line. My father's face emptied. He said what? That he advised me from the beginning. He may have exaggerated. He lied. My father rubbed his thumb against the edge of the chair. Your brother is under pressure. So was I. That isn't an excuse. No, it wasn't an excuse when I was under pressure either. He closed his eyes briefly. I waited. 6 seconds. He opened them. We made mistakes. The sentence was so small compared with what it carried that I almost missed it. What mistake did you make? He looked at me. Your mother thought. No, what did you do? His mouth opened. Closed. Marcus looked at the staffing chart but did not turn a page. My father tried again. I should have handled things differently. How? He stood. I didn't come here to be questioned. You came here to discuss my money. I came because we're family. I looked at him for a long time. Family is what you called yourselves while leaving. He flinched. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt him, because the truth had finally reached the right place. He walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back at the office. You've done well. I thought of the two $20 bills. I know. After he left, Marcus remained silent. Then he said, that man came for money. Yes. He may not know it yet. He knows. I opened the blue folder. Inside were years of records, the shelter intake form, the cropped photograph, Grant's messages, my mother's social media post, the first invoice, the hospital email, the ownership documents, and now a printed copy of the public filing showing Mercer Ridge's debts. I placed my father's visitor badge inside. The family was approaching, not with apology, with a plan. And somewhere inside that plan, they had already decided my success belonged to them. The first clear sign arrived in an envelope that was not meant for me. 2 weeks after my father's visit, my mother invited the twins and me to my parents' 35th anniversary dinner. Not the party. The dinner before the party. She made that distinction 3 times. The anniversary party would be held in the private dining room of the Bellwether Country Club, where Grant had recently become a member despite owing money to 2 former clients. Almost 90 guests were expected. Local business owners, hospital donors, a state senator, people my mother had spent years arranging near herself in photographs. The private dinner would be smaller. Immediate family only, she said. I was sitting in my parked car outside the twins' school when she called. Why now? Because we are trying, Natalie. Trying what? To move forward. That phrase again. Moving forward always meant I had to step over what they had done while they stayed exactly where they were. Ruby and June came through the school doors holding paper models of the solar system. June's Saturn had lost 1 ring. Ruby was carrying both backpacks because June was trying to repair it while walking. I watched them come toward me. My mother continued speaking. Your father misses the girls. He knows my number. He doesn't want to feel rejected. I closed my eyes. The nerve of that sentence was almost impressive. What time is the dinner? 7. Next Friday. I'll think about it. It would mean a great deal to us. To you, or to the people attending the party? Her breathing changed slightly. Why must everything be suspicious? Because you have not given me anything else to work with. Ruby opened the back door. Mom, Saturn broke. I see. My mother mistook the answer for hers. Then you'll come? I said I'll think about it. I ended the call. June climbed into the car and held up the damaged planet. Can we use tape? We can use wire. Her eyes brightened. That's better. It usually was. Tape hit a break. Wire held the structure. That evening I told Samuel about the invitation. He was in my office with Priya, reviewing the final charitable transfer documents. Priya Shah had managed complex private bank accounts for 19 years. She wore simple navy suits and never touched a document until she had read every page. "The anniversary is before the gala?" she asked. 6 days before. Samuel removed his glasses. That meant he expected trouble. "Who knows about the donation?" "Everyone in this room. Lydia, the Foundation's chief counsel. Evelyn knows the general plan, but not all the numbers." "Anyone in your family?" "No." "What does Grant know about the sale proceeds?" "Only what was publicly reported." Priya turned one page. "The public estimate is broad. Broad enough for him." Samuel leaned back. "Why invite you to a private dinner now? My mother wants access. Grant wants credibility. My father wants to believe he is still a decent man." Priya looked at me. "And what do you want?" "I want to know what they are planning." Samuel put his glasses back on. "Then attend." It was not what I expected him to say. "You think I should go?" "I think they are already making claims about Blue Line. If they put those claims in writing or repeat them in front of witnesses, we should know." "This is starting to sound like surveillance." "It isn't. You are attending a family dinner you were invited to. You are not recording private conversations without checking the law. You are observing." Priya closed the folder in front of her. "Truth does not need tricks," she said. "It only needs a clear path into the room." I looked at the blue folder on the corner of my desk. The path was getting clearer. I accepted the invitation the next morning. My mother replied in less than 1 minute. "Wonderful. Wear something special. There may be a few photographs. Immediate family only." A few photographs. Of course. The dinner was held at my parents' house instead of the country club. My mother said she wanted it to feel intimate. When the twins and I arrived, there were 11 cars parked along Delaney Street. Ruby counted them before I did. I thought it was just family. So did I. June Lutte. Get through the windshield. "Do we have to stay?" "No." That answer mattered. I wanted them to understand that entering a room did not mean surrendering the right to leave it. My parents' house looked almost unchanged. The brick had been painted pale gray. The old front steps had been replaced with smooth stone. My mother had finally bought the kind of front door she used to point out in magazines. But the upstairs hallway window was still slightly crooked. I could see it from the driveway. Some things remained wrong no matter how much money was spent around them. Grant opened the front door before we knocked. He wore a dark jacket with no tie and held a glass of wine. "There they are." He reached toward Ruby. She stepped behind me. His hand paused. Then he turned the movement into a gesture toward the hallway. "Come in." The house smelled like rosemary, butter, and my mother's rose perfume. Voices carried from the living room. Not family voices. I recognized the mayor of Bellwether, a local real estate developer, 2 hospital board members, the bank president Grant had cornered at the gala planning reception, 3 people I knew from regional healthcare contracts. My mother came through the dining room wearing cream silk. She kissed the air beside my cheek. "You look tired." "Hello to you, too." Her smile held. Then she crouched toward the twins. "My beautiful girls." June moved closer to Ruby. My mother's hands remained suspended for a moment before she stood. "I bought you something." "We don't need anything," Ruby said. My mother looked at me. I had not taught her to say that. Not directly. "Let's not begin with tension," my mother said. "We just arrived." She lowered her voice. "There are important people here." "There are always important people here when you want me to behave." Her jaw shifted. Then someone called her name and the smile returned. She led us into the living room. Every face turned. My mother placed one hand lightly against my back, guiding me forward as if she had brought me there. "You all know our daughter Natalie?" Some did, some did not. The word "our" landed strangely. Our daughter. As if ownership could be restored by pronunciation. A hospital board member named Thomas Keene shook my hand. "Grant has told us so much about the family enterprise." I looked at Grant. He was watching me carefully. "What family enterprise?" Thomas laughed, thinking I was joking. Blue Line, of course. My mother answered before he could. Grant means the broader family vision. The children have always shared ideas. No, I said. The room quieted just enough. My mother's fingers pressed into my back. I stepped away from her hand. Blue Line is not a family enterprise. Grant has never worked there, advised there, invested there, or held any ownership. Thomas's smile disappeared. Grant lifted his glass. Natalie is very strict about titles. This is not about a title. See, he said to Thomas. Always precise. He tried to make my correction look like a personality flaw. Old pattern, new room. My mother touched the pearls at her neck. We're here to celebrate, then celebrate. I walked toward the twins who had found the tray of small cheese pastries. My father stood beside the fireplace. He had watched the entire exchange. When I approached, he gave me a tired smile. You came. You sound surprised. I wasn't sure you would. You asked Mom to invite me? He looked toward the dining room. We both wanted you here. That wasn't my question. He exhaled. Natalie, not tonight. There it was. Not tonight. Not in front of people. Not when it might cost them something. There had never been a right time for truth in that house. Only convenient times for silence. Dinner was served at 2 long tables pushed together beneath the chandelier my mother had wanted since I was 12. She placed me between Thomas Keene and an investor named Douglas Harlan. Grant sat directly across from me. The twins were at the far end beside my father. I did not like the arrangement. I moved their place cards next to mine. My mother watched. They were going to sit with their grandfather. They're sitting with me. He hardly sees them. That is not a seating problem. Douglas Harlan pretended to examine the wine label. My mother gave the smallest possible laugh. You see what I live with? I looked at her. What do you live with? The laugh stopped. Grant leaned forward. Can we all take the temperature down? Ruby whispered. It's already cold. June covered a smile with her napkin. I almost laughed. That helped. The first course was pumpkin soup with toasted seeds. My mother had hired a caterer, but she spoke as though she had prepared every dish herself. Conversation moved through local property prices, hospital expansion, and Grant's new healthcare investment division. He described it as a natural extension of Mercer Ridge's work. One of the hospital board members asked whether Blue Line would participate. Grant looked at me. We're discussing several possibilities. No, we aren't. My mother put down her spoon. Natalie. What? Grant is speaking broadly. He is speaking falsely. Grant's face colored. I said possibilities. There are none. Thomas Keene cleared his throat. What exactly would the partnership involve? Grant answered before I could. Strategic capital deployment, regional consolidation, perhaps using the family platform to acquire smaller operators. I stared at him. Family platform. Acquire smaller operators. He had constructed a whole future around assets he did not own. What capital? I asked. Grant smiled. Let's not get technical at dinner. We should. Your company does not have enough liquid capital for the plan you just described. My father's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. My mother looked toward the guests. Natalie enjoys numbers. Grant set down his wine glass. My company's finances are private. Then stop using my company to make them sound stronger. Douglas Harlan looked directly at Grant. You told me Blue Line would serve as the operating base. The room went still. Grant's eyes moved to Douglas. That was a preliminary concept. You said family approval was expected after the transaction closed. No, I said. Douglas frowned. Grant tried to speak. I did not let him. There has been no discussion. There is no approval. Mercer Ridge has no role in Blue Line, the sale, the remaining ownership, or any future acquisition. Thomas Keene leaned away from the table. My mother's face remained composed, but the skin around her mouth tightened. Grant gave me a look I knew from childhood. You are embarrassing us. It used to work. I used to shrink. Now I picked up my spoon. The soup is getting cold. No one knew what to do with that. The meal continued, but the room had changed. Questions became careful. People stopped addressing Grant as though he represented me. My mother filled silences with stories. She told one about Grant selling candy bars at age 10 and called it proof that he had always been entrepreneurial. She told another about me labeling kitchen shelves at age 8. Natalie always loved organizing, she said. Even as a child, she wanted everything in its place. I looked at the long table. My place was usually outside the photograph. My father closed his eyes. My mother's smile remained. Must you? Yes. One word. Calm. Complete. The main course arrived. Chicken with lemon sauce. Potatoes. Green beans tied in small bundles. The twins ate bread and whispered to each other. Halfway through dinner, Grant's phone rang. He looked at the screen and rejected the call. It rang again. Then my father's phone vibrated. Then my mother's. 3 calls, one after another. I counted them. Grant stood. Excuse me. He left through the kitchen. My mother followed 1 minute later. My father remained at the table for another 30 seconds before leaving too. The guests began talking louder. Douglas Harlan asked me whether the Blue Line transaction had changed operational control. I gave him the public facts and nothing more. While I spoke, June tugged my sleeve. I need the bathroom. I'll take you. Ruby came too. The downstairs bathroom was occupied, so we went upstairs. The hallway still smelled faintly of hot dust from the Yisi radiator, though the house now had central heating. My old bedroom door was open. It was no longer a bedroom. My mother had turned it into an office with white shelves, a cream rug, and a desk facing the window. Grant's old room remained a guest room. Of course. June went into the bathroom. Ruby stood beside me, looking into the office. Was this your room? Yes. It's small. It felt smaller. On the desk sat a neat stack of envelopes and place cards for the anniversary party. Beside them was a printed document with the Mercer Ridge logo. I did not touch it. I did not need to. The first page was visible. Family Healthcare Growth Initiative. Below that, proposed strategic alignment between Mercer Ridge Partners and Blue Line Medical Logistics. My name appeared under Founding Operations Partner. Grant's appeared under Managing Investment Partner. The document included the Blue Line logo. An old version, still ours, still used without permission. Ruby followed my eyes. Is that your company? Yes. Why is Uncle Grant's name on it? That is a good question. June came out of the bathroom. What? Nothing you need to worry about. Footsteps sounded on the stairs. I took a photograph of the visible page. One photograph. No movement, no search. The document was left openly on a desk in a room with an open door. My mother reached the hallway just as I lowered my phone. Her eyes went from me to the desk, then back. What are you doing in here? Taking June to the bathroom. This room is private. The door was open. She crossed the hallway and turned the document face down. Too late. What is the Family Healthcare Growth Initiative? Her face did not change. I have no idea. It has Grant's company logo and my company's name. You must have misunderstood. I read it. You glanced at a page that was not yours. It used my logo. Natalie, do not create another scene. The twins stood behind me. I kept my voice even. Grant is presenting Blue Line as part of an investment plan. He is exploring ways the family might work together. There is no family work. He believes there could be. He needs my consent even to use the name. My mother folded her arms. This is why people find it difficult to support you. I felt something inside me become very still. Support me? You treat every attempt at connection like an attack. You abandoned me with 2 newborns. Her eyes moved toward the twins. Lower your voice. I'm not raising it. You made your choice. We could not live it for you. The sentence landed exactly where it had 9 years earlier. Same rhythm, same cold order. You made your choice. Now live with it. My father had delivered it at the curb, but it had always belonged to her. Ruby's hand found mine. My mother looked down at it. For 1 second, something uncertain passed over her face. Then it vanished. You have spent years punishing us for setting a boundary, she said. A boundary protects your own life. It does not leave 2 newborns in a shelter while you keep an empty room. We knew you were capable. No, you were willing to risk us because helping me did not fit the picture you wanted. Natalie, we're leaving. The meal isn't finished. It is for us. She stepped closer. You cannot walk out every time you hear something you dislike. I can walk out whenever my children and I are safer outside than inside. Her face hardened. You are teaching them to hate us. Ruby spoke before I could. No one had to teach us. My mother looked at her as if the furniture had answered back. June gripped my other hand. We walked downstairs. Grant was near the kitchen doorway, arguing quietly into his phone. When he saw us putting on our coats, he ended the call. Where are you going? Home. My father came forward. Stay. We can talk. About the document upstairs? Grant's face changed. Only for a second. Enough. What document? The proposal using Blue Line's name. He looked at my mother. She had followed us down. Her silence answered him. Grant placed his phone in his pocket. It is a concept deck. It is unauthorized. It isn't public. Douglas Harlan has already seen part of the concept. That is different. How? He is an existing relationship. Your relationship. Not mine. Grant lowered his voice. You are sitting on a major opportunity, and acting like anyone who wants to participate is stealing from you. You are using my company to attract investors. I am trying to create value. You are trying to borrow credibility because yours is collapsing. My father stepped between us. That is enough. I looked at him. Enough for whom? His eyes met mine, then dropped. Grant's phone rang again. This time I saw the name. Alan Pierce, one of his former clients, the man suing Mercer Ridge for misrepresentation. Grant rejected the call. I buttoned June's coat. My mother moved closer to me. Think carefully before you damage your brother's reputation. I stared at her. He is damaging it himself. Family does not expose family. Family does not counterfeit a relationship. Her lips parted. I opened the front door. Cold air entered the hall. My father said my name. I turned. He looked at the twins, then at me. You made your choice, my mother said behind him. Do not blame us for what happens next. There were the words again. Not exactly the same. Close enough. I held the door open for Ruby and June. I stopped blaming you years ago, I said. Now I document you. We walked out. The night smelled like wet leaves and chimney smoke. At the car, Ruby began crying. Not loudly. Like me. I knelt beside her. What is it? I don't want them to take your company. They can't. Grandma said something would happen. She says many things when she is scared. Is she scared of you? I thought about that. No, she is scared she cannot control me. June stood on my other side. Can she control us? No. Can Uncle Grant? No. Can Grandpa? No. June nodded. Then we're okay. Children often reach the cleanest answer first. I drove home. The blue folder was in my office, but I could feel its weight beside me. For anyone who has watched someone call theft a partnership and control a family value, comment the word record. The truth becomes powerful when you stop arguing with the story and start preserving the evidence. Stay with me, because the page I saw upstairs was only the polite version of Grant's plan. The real one was already failing. Samuel opened my photograph on the conference room screen the following morning. Marcus stood near the window. Priya joined by secure video. The visible page was enough to identify the document title, logo misuse, and proposed roles. Samuel removed his glasses. He cannot market an investment using your company's name. I know. If he distributed this deck, we send notices immediately. Can we find out who received it? Yes. Marcus folded his arms. I can ask our industry contacts without making noise. Priya looked at the screen. The language suggests an active capital raise, not a private family concept. What makes you say that? I asked. Growth initiative. Strategic alignment. Defined partner roles. This is written to make an outside investor believe the relationship has structure. Samuel nodded. Grant is not just hoping you will agree later. He may be implying you already have. I sat down. The room was silent for 7 seconds. Then I said, find every copy. Marcus found the first within 3 hours. A clinic network executive had received the deck from Grant 6 weeks earlier. 6 weeks, before the Blue Line sale had even closed. The executive forwarded the email to Marcus. Grant's message read, as discussed, our family is consolidating its healthcare holdings following the Blue Line transaction. Natalie will remain focused on operations while Mercer Ridge directs capital strategy and acquisitions. Our family. Healthcare holdings. Natalie will remain focused on operations. He had written me into a smaller role inside my own life. By the end of the day, we had 4 recipients. By the next morning, 7. 2 were potential investors. 3 were healthcare executives. 1 was a regional bank. 1 was a hospital foundation donor. Each message used slightly different wording. In one, Grant called himself Blue Line's early financial advisor. In another, he claimed Mercer Ridge had provided informal seed guidance. The closest Grant had ever come to seed guidance was asking me how many trucks I owned while eating cake in my apartment. Samuel prepared cease and desist notices, not dramatic letters, precise ones. Blue Line had no relationship with Mercer Ridge. Grant held no role. No partnership had been discussed or approved. Any contrary statement must be corrected immediately. We sent them to Grant, his company, and every identified recipient. Samuel also notified the National Healthcare Company that had purchased 60% of Blue Line. Their legal team responded within the hour. Grant called me 11 times. I watched the phone light up on my desk. 1, 2, 3. By 7, the calls were coming from my mother's number. By 11, my father's. I answered none. Grant came to the office after lunch. Security stopped him in the lobby. He demanded to see me. I watched through the camera feed as he paced near the reception desk. His jacket was open. His hair looked damp from rain. He gestured with both hands while speaking to the security supervisor. He was used to entering rooms through confidence. The locked elevator confused him. Samuel was still in my office. Do you want him removed? He asked. I want to hear what he says. We met in a glass conference room beside the lobby. Not my office, not private space. Marcus sat beside me. Samuel sat at the end of the table. Grant entered and looked at all 3 of us. This is ridiculous. I said nothing. He dropped a copy of the legal notice onto the table. You sent this to my investors? We sent corrections to people you misled. You could have called me. You called me after the letters arrived. You did not call before using my name. He pulled out a chair. No one invited him to sit. He sat anyway. The deck was exploratory. You distributed it to a limited group. You told them I had agreed. I said approval was expected. You had no reason to expect it. We are family. Samuel removed his glasses. Grant noticed. Who is this? My lawyer? I know he's a lawyer. Why is he here? Because you created a legal problem. Grant looked at Samuel. This is a family misunderstanding. Samuel's voice remained flat. You used a registered trademark and made material statements about corporate control to solicit investment. Grant turned back to me. Do you enjoy this? What? Watching me get spoken to like a criminal. No one used that word. You know what I mean. I usually don't. He leaned forward. Mercer Ridge is under temporary pressure. Your former clients call it fraud. They are angry about market losses. They say you hid risk. You have no idea how investment management works. No, but Priya does. His face changed when I said her name. You brought a bank into this? She is part of my advisory team. For the sale? For everything that concerns my finances. Grant looked at the blue folder near my hand. He gave a short laugh. You still carry that hospital thing? Yes. That is not normal. Neither is using your sister's company to hide your losses. He stood. I was trying to build something that helped all of us. You were trying to put my balance sheet beside your name. You have more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. That does not create ownership for you. What are you going to do with it? I looked at him. He asked too quickly. There it was. Not what I had built. Not what the company meant. What are you going to do with it? That is private. He walked toward the window, then turned. Mom and Dad are not young. They have retirement accounts, a paid-off home, and income. Dad's pension is not what you think. I know what it is. You checked? Their finances are not my concern. They should be. Why? Because they're your parents. They were my parents at the shelter. His hands closed into fists at his sides, not raised, not threatening, just a man discovering anger could not open the door. You never let anyone forget that. I spent years saying almost nothing about it. You built your whole identity around being wronged. No, I built a company around medical deliveries. You built an investment pitch around my identity. Marcus looked down, but I saw the edge of a smile. Grant pointed at the legal notice. If these corrections cause investors to pull out, Mercer Ridge could collapse. That is not my decision. You know exactly what you're doing. Yes. He blinked. I continued. I am correcting false statements. Nothing more. You could wait 60 days. No. 30. No. 2 weeks. No. He stared at me. I thought of the hospital curb. 3 months. That was all I had asked for. He had not offered a day. You made your choice, I said quietly. Now you have to manage it. The words tasted different in my mouth. I did not enjoy them. That mattered. I was not becoming my mother. I was returning responsibility to the person who created it. Grant's face went pale. You sound just like her. No, she said it while I held 2 newborns. I'm saying it while you hold a false investment deck. He left without another word. Security escorted him outside. 3 investors withdrew from Mercer Ridge within 48 hours. A 4th requested an audit. The regional bank froze consideration of a credit line. None of that happened because I exposed private information. It happened because the truth removed my company from his story. Without blue line beside it, Mercer Ridge looked like what it was. A failing firm wearing borrowed confidence. My mother arrived at my house on Sunday morning. She did not call first. The twins were making pancakes. June had spilled flour across the counter. Ruby was trying to flip a pancake without help. The doorbell rang twice, then 3 times. I checked the camera. My mother stood on the porch holding her handbag with both hands. I considered not answering. Then Ruby came beside me. Is that Grandma? Yes. Why is she here? I don't know. Do you want her inside? Another clean question. No. I opened the door but remained in the doorway. My mother looked past me. I need to speak with you. You should have called. You would not have answered. That is information. She looked toward the camera above the door. Are you recording me? The camera records the porch. How welcoming. I did not invite you. Her eyes sharpened. Grant may lose his company. I heard. You caused investors to panic. I corrected his lies. He was trying to protect the family. He was trying to protect himself. Those are not always different. They were this time. She lowered her voice. The neighbors can hear. The neighbors are inside their homes. Let me in. No. The words stayed between us. She was not used to a door she could not rearrange. Her expression changed from offense to pain, not real pain. Presentation. I am your mother. Yes. Does that mean nothing? It means you had responsibilities. I did the best I could. No. Her mouth opened. I continued before she could reshape the sentence. You did what protected your comfort and your image. That is not the same as your best. Tears appeared. Fast. Controlled. You have always judged me harshly. I was a child. You were difficult. I was observant. You resented your brother. I resented the rules changing for him. You chose a man who left you. I did. You chose to keep 2 babies when you had no stable home. They were already my daughters. You chose pride over accepting our conditions. What conditions? She looked away. Exactly. There had never been conditions. There had been rejection. She tried another direction. Your father has not slept. He should talk to someone. He thinks you hate him. I don't. She looked surprised. I don't hate any of you. Hate takes attention I no longer owe. The tears stopped. What do you want? Right now? I want to finish breakfast with my children. What do you want from us? Accountability would have been useful 9 years ago. And now? Distance. Her face hardened. You are making a terrible mistake. No, I am correcting one. She stepped closer to the threshold. I did not move. Grant told us you may be giving money to the hospital. That reached me. Not because she knew everything, because she knew enough. Who told him? He heard something through the foundation. What did he hear? That you are making a major charitable commitment. How major? She watched my face. I don't know. That part was true. Then she said, you cannot give away family security to strangers. There it was. Family security. My money had become a family asset before she even knew the amount. The funds are mine. You have daughters. They are protected. You have parents. You are financially secure. You have a brother whose business could survive with temporary support. I will not give Grant money. You would rather hand it to people you have never met. Yes. The answer came easily. Her eyes widened. After everything we did for you? I counted 3 breaths, then 4. What did you do? We raised you. That was the obligation you accepted by having a child. We fed you, educated you, gave you a home. Until I needed it most. You were an adult. I was 23, recovering from childbirth, holding 2 infants. You had options. Yes, a shelter. Her chin lifted. And look what you became. The sentence was so ugly in its logic that I almost stepped back. She had turned abandonment into a strategy, as if Haven House had been a business school she wisely selected for me, as if pain became acceptable when the injured person survived it. You do not get credit for the strength I needed to recover from you, I said. Her face emptied. Behind me a plate broke. I turned. June stood near the kitchen counter staring at pieces of white ceramic on the floor. I'm okay, she said quickly. Don't move. I looked back at my mother. This conversation is over. She saw the flower on Ruby's shirt and the broken plate behind June. For 1 second, I wondered whether instinct would pull her forward, whether she would offer to help. Instead, she said, "Think about what you're taking from your family." I closed the door. Then I cleaned the plate from around June's feet. My mother remained on the porch for another minute. The camera showed her standing perfectly still. Then she walked away. That afternoon, I called Lydia. "We have a leak." She did not waste time denying it. "What was disclosed?" "Someone told Grant I'm making a major gift." "Not the amount?" "No." "I'll investigate." "Do not change the event." "We can move the announcement." "No." "Natalie, your family may attend." "They already planned to." There was a pause. "You knew?" "My mother's anniversary guest list overlaps with the gala donors. Grant has been using Blue Line to rebuild credibility." Lydia exhaled. "Then we tighten access. I want the original program order." "You still want Grant allowed to speak?" "Yes." "Natalie, let him finish." Lydia understood then. The gala committee had offered Grant a short introduction months earlier because Mercer Ridge had sponsored a table. He believed he would be presenting a General Healthcare Innovation Award. My mother believed he would use the stage to restore his reputation. I knew he would try to connect himself to Blue Line. Samuel had advised me to stop him beforehand. Legally, we already had enough. Emotionally, I needed something else. Not humiliation. Completion. Grant had lied in rooms where I was absent. At the gala, I would be present. He would speak. Then the record would speak. Lydia agreed. "We'll have counsel beside the stage. Priya, too." She confirmed attendance. "And security?" "Discreet." "Good." After the call, I opened the blue folder. The hospital discharge papers were brittle at the edges. The shelter intake form listed my available cash as $43.17. I had forgotten the 17. For years, I said 43. The record was more exact. I placed a new document behind it. The final charitable commitment. $100 million. The difference between those 2 pages was not proof that anyone could become wealthy if they worked hard. I knew better. I had received help. Shelter. Childcare support. Evelyn. Sheila. Lorna. Marcus. Samuel. Drivers who trusted me before there was reason. Clients who took a chance. Luck in the right places. Good health when I needed it. A market ready for what I built. The difference between the pages was proof of something smaller and truer. Being abandoned did not make me disposable. Needing help did not make me weak. And surviving people did not mean they deserved to join the reward. If you have ever felt guilty for protecting what you built from people who mocked the beginning, comment the word shelter. Gratitude belongs to those who helped carry the weight, not those who watched from a dry window. Subscribe and stay because 6 days before the gala, my father finally came alone. He arrived at the office near closing time. No appointment, no mother, no Grant. The receptionist called upstairs. "He says he only needs 5 minutes. Send him up." Marcus had already left. Most employees were gone. The route team on the far side of the floor wore headsets and watched evening deliveries. My father entered my office carrying a large brown envelope. He looked exhausted. His shirt collar was bent. There was a small stain on his sleeve. I had never seen him look careless before. He sat without waiting. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here." "That seems risky for you." He accepted the sentence. "I brought something." He placed the envelope on my desk. Inside were copies of bank statements, Mercer Ridge reports, and loan documents. I did not touch them. "What is this?" "Grant asked me to sign a guarantee." "For what?" "A line of credit. $2.4 million. "Did you?" "No." That surprised me. My father rubbed both hands over his face. "He said it would stabilize the firm until your partnership was announced." "There is no partnership." "I know that now." "You knew it before." He looked at the floor. "I hoped you might reconsider." "Why?" "He's my son. I'm your daughter." His eyes closed. The office lights reflected against the window behind him. Outside, a delivery van moved through the parking lot. He opened his eyes again. I failed you. No soft language, no passive voice, 4 words. I waited. He looked directly at me. I knew your mother was wrong the day I drove you to Haven House. My throat tightened. He continued. I knew before we left the hospital. I knew when I passed Delaney Street. I knew when you asked me to turn around. The room became very quiet. I almost did. But you didn't. No. Why? He swallowed. Because going against her would have changed my whole life. I stared at him. And leaving us only changed mine. Yes. The word broke something open. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Truth. He nodded as though accepting a sentence. Yes. I looked at his hands. They trembled slightly. My father had spent his life avoiding discomfort. He called it peace. He called it patience. He called it choosing his battles. But someone always paid for the battles he refused to enter. Usually me. Did you believe we were safe? I asked. I called the shelter. When? The next morning. Who did you speak to? A staff member. I didn't give my name. I asked if a mother with twins had arrived. You checked whether we were alive. He looked down. Yes. Then what? I went to work. The answer hurt more because it was ordinary. He went to work. He opened spreadsheets. He ate lunch. He drove home. My mother probably asked what he wanted for dinner. Meanwhile, I learned how to feed 2 babies in a room with a loose chair. Why are you telling me now? Because Grant is going to the gala. I know. He plans to speak about Blue Line. I know. He thinks your donation is around 10 million. I said nothing. My father looked at me carefully. It's more? That is not why you came. No. Why did you bring these documents? He pushed the envelope toward me. Grant used the proposed Blue Line partnership in bank discussions. He told me the hospital gala would confirm the relationship publicly. Did you tell him it was false? Yesterday. What did he say? That families say things in anger and reconcile when the numbers become real. The numbers become real. I almost smiled. They had always been real. $43, $690 in rent, $70 per day for childcare, $112 in first profit, $1.8 million in first major contracts, $187 million in the sale, $100 million given away. The numbers had been real when they were small. My family only respected them when they became large enough to stand beside. What do you want me to do with this? I asked. Protect yourself. From Grant? From all of us. That was the honest beat. Late, but honest. He stood. I did not stop him. At the door, he turned. Your mother believes the money can put the family back together. Money cannot rebuild something truth was never allowed to enter. I know. Do you? He nodded. Then he left. I gave the documents to Samuel. They confirmed that Grant had used the false Blue Line relationship while seeking credit. The bank had not approved the line. No crime had been proven. No dramatic arrest waited at the end. Just consequences. The kind that arrive through letters, audits, declined applications, withdrawn trust, and doors that no longer open. Justice was procedural, slow, clean, and very hard to argue with. The day before the gala, I took Ruby and June to Haven House. The building had new windows and a repaired ramp, but the red doors remained. Evelyn was waiting beneath the awning. She wore a dark purple coat and held an umbrella even though the rain had stopped. June ran to her first. Ruby followed. Evelyn hugged them both. Then she looked at me. You're counting. I am. How many? 7 windows. 4 cars. 3 steps from the curb. What are you afraid of? I looked at the red doors. that I'm turning this into revenge. She studied me. Are you giving the money away to hurt them? No. Would you make the gift if they never learned about it? Yes. Would the program still matter if they applauded? Yes. Then their pain is not the purpose. What if part of me wants them to understand? Understanding is not suffering. She took my hand. Truth is a scalpel, Natalie. Use it to separate what is real from what has grown around it. Do not swing it like a hammer. I won't. I know. We went inside. The director showed us the plans for the new family wing. 24 private rooms, a childcare center, a medical office, training room, a larger kitchen, emergency apartments for mothers transitioning into work. Ruby examined the drawing. Is one room going to look like Mom's old room? The director looked at me. Similar size, but every room will have a private bathroom. June pointed to the childcare center. Can babies stay there while their moms work? Yes. All day? As long as needed. She nodded seriously. That's good. Evelyn watched them. You did not give your daughters a perfect family, she told me later. You gave them an honest one. I looked toward the girls. They were helping a staff member stack donated diapers. That feels better. It is. Before we left, I went upstairs alone. My old room was being used for storage. Boxes of blankets stood where the bassinets had been. The loose chair was long gone. Mine sat in the reading corner of my home office. I touched the windowsill. The paint had chipped near the latch. I remembered Ruby crying. June staring at the fan. Tomato soup. Cinnamon from the apartment bakery weeks later. My father's tires crossing 4 cracks in the road. You made your choice. Now live with it. I had. I had lived with it. Built with it. Raised 2 children through it. But I no longer had to carry it as shame. That belonged to the people who left. The morning of the gala, my mother sent me a message. We should arrive together as a family. It would avoid unnecessary questions. I read it once, then deleted it. Grant sent one too. Whatever happens tonight, remember that public conflict hurts the girls. I forwarded it to Samuel. My father sent no message. At 5:30, Ruby and June came into my room wearing their dresses. Ruby's dark blue dress had small silver stars near the hem. June's green dress had pockets. She had chosen it because of the pockets. Are you nervous? Ruby asked. Yes. About speaking? Not exactly. About Grandma? A little. June put both hands in her pockets. She can't control us. No. Or the money. No. Or your company. No. Then we're okay. The clean answer again. I dressed in black. Simple. No bright color for my mother. No attempt to look like wealth. I placed the blue folder inside a leather document case, but did not remove the folder itself. The old plastic edges showed above the new leather. That felt right. At 6:20, the car arrived. At 6:48, we entered the Hospital Foundation ballroom. White roses, coffee, lemon polish, glass lights overhead, 12 tables between us and my parents, 8 chairs at each table, 3 security staff near the doors, 2 lawyers beside the stage, 1 blue folder beneath my hand. Grant saw me. He smiled. My mother lifted 2 fingers in a small wave. My father looked down at the printed program. And 2. Evening began exactly as they expected. For the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. That was the unsettling part. The string quartet played near the windows. Servers moved between tables carrying trays of sparkling water and wine. People leaned toward one another beneath the low gold light and spoke in the careful voices used at expensive events. My mother visited 3 tables before coming near ours. She stopped beside donors, touched shoulders, laughed with her head slightly tilted, and introduced Grant to anyone who had not already met him. My father remained at their table. He looked at me twice. Both times, he looked away first. At 7:05, Lydia welcomed everyone and thanked the hospital staff, sponsors, volunteers, and families whose stories had shaped the Foundation's work. At 7:12, the first course arrived. At 7:21, a short video played about rural medical access. At 7:30, Grant stood to greet someone at the next table and somehow remained standing for 9 minutes. He knew where every camera was. My daughters noticed too. "Why does Uncle Grant keep turning sideways?" June whispered. "So the photographers can see his face," Ruby said. June considered that. "His face looks the same from the front." I covered my mouth with my napkin. Across the room, Evelyn saw me and smiled. She was seated at Lydia's table beside the director of Haven House. She wore the purple coat when she arrived, but now it hung behind her chair. Her dress was dark gray. The red cord holding her glasses was the brightest thing she wore. She had refused a place on stage. "I already had a career," she told me. "This night belongs to the people still beginning theirs." She did not know the new Haven House wing would carry her name. That was the only secret inside the donation that I had kept from her. At 7:43, my mother finally approached our table. She bent beside the twins. "You both look lovely." "Thank you," Ruby said. June nodded. My mother looked at me. "The white dresses would have photographed better." "They chose these." "I know." She said it as though their independence was another thing I had done to inconvenience her. Her eyes moved toward the leather case beside my chair. "What is that?" "Documents." "For the award?" "For the evening." She touched the back of the empty chair beside me. "Grant is speaking shortly." I saw the program. "He plans to say something generous about you." "That would be new." Her smile tightened. "Natalie, please." "What?" "Do not make this difficult." I'm sitting quietly. "You know what I mean." I did. She wanted my silence, not my peace. Those were different things. She glanced toward the stage. "There may be a chance tonight to repair some misunderstandings." "Whose misunderstandings?" "All of ours." "Did Grant stop using my company's name?" "This is not the place." "Then this is not a repair." Her fingers pressed into the chair. "You have become very hard." "No," I became clear. Someone called her from behind. She turned, and the public smile appeared before she faced them. It was almost mechanical. Before leaving, she leaned closer. "Your father has been sick with worry. He knows how to reach me. He is ashamed. That belongs to him." She straightened. For 1 second, I saw the anger beneath everything else. Then she walked away. June touched my arm. "Are you okay?" "Yes." "That wasn't a nice conversation." "No." "Do you want to leave?" I looked toward Lydia. She was speaking quietly with Samuel near the stage. Priya sat at a nearby table with 2 bank officers and the Hospital Foundation's chief financial officer. Marcus had arrived with his wife and several Blue Line employees. Nurse Carla was there too. Lydia had found her through hospital records. Carla was older now, with silver in her hair, but I recognized her immediately. She had recognized the folder. When I showed it to her before dinner, she touched the faded sticker and laughed. "I can't believe you kept this." "I can." She had hugged me. Then she hugged the twins. She did not remember every detail of that hospital room. I did. That did not make her kindness less important. People rarely know which of their small actions becomes a bridge for someone else. "No," I told June. "I don't want to leave." She placed both hands in the pockets of her green dress. "Then we're okay." At 7:58, the lights lowered. The room settled. Lydia returned to the stage. She spoke about the hospital's expansion and the Foundation's new focus on mothers facing housing insecurity after childbirth. My mother's head turned toward me, only slightly. Grant did not notice. He was reading something on his phone beneath the table. Lydia continued. "Tonight, we will recognize several people whose work has changed how care reaches patients beyond these walls." The screen behind her displayed photographs of mobile clinics, delivery vehicles, rural pharmacies, and hospital staff. One photograph showed a Blue Line driver carrying a temperature-controlled case through snow. Grant put away his phone. He adjusted his jacket. At 8:03, Lydia introduced the Healthcare Innovation Award. She spoke about Blue Line's routing platform, our emergency response work, and the thousands of critical deliveries our teams had completed. Then she said, "To introduce tonight's honoree, please welcome Grant Brooks of Mercer Ridge Partners." Applause moved through the room. My mother sat straighter. Grant stood. He buttoned his jacket. He looked toward me and smiled as if we shared a plan. Then he walked to the stage. The applause continued longer than it should have because my mother started clapping before everyone else and kept going after others had stopped. Grant shook Lydia's hand. She stepped away from the microphone. He placed both hands on the sides of the podium. "Thank you, Lydia. And thank you to everyone who supports this extraordinary hospital." His voice was smooth, practiced. He looked across the room. Our family's connection to healthcare may not be obvious at first. Samuel removed his glasses. There it was. Grant continued. "My sister Natalie and I grew up in a home where service, discipline, and entrepreneurship were deeply valued. I felt Ruby's hand move into mine. My father looked down at the table. My mother watched the stage with shining eyes. Grant smiled. Natalie was always the organized one. I was the one asking how ideas could grow. Those different strengths shaped many conversations over the years. Marcus leaned toward his wife and whispered something. I could guess what. Grant had not asked me a meaningful question about Blue Line until my monthly profit reached $9,000. But now we had shaped conversations over the years. "We did not always agree," he said, "but strong families challenge one another. They push one another toward bigger possibilities." My mother nodded. Several guests looked at me. I kept my face still. Grant's eyes found Douglas Harlan. "This is why I am especially proud that the family vision behind Blue Line is now entering a new stage." A small movement passed through the room. Not applause. Attention. Grant took that as permission. "The recent transaction involving Blue Line Medical Logistics creates opportunities far beyond one company. It opens the door to partnerships, investment, and expansion that can serve communities across the country." Samuel wrote one sentence on the paper before him. Priya did not move. "Mercer Ridge has always believed healthcare businesses should combine strong operations with disciplined capital," Grant continued. "Natalie's team has built remarkable operational systems, and we look forward to supporting the next chapter." The next chapter. He said it publicly, after the legal letters, after the corrections, after promising lenders that the gala would confirm the relationship. Grant placed one hand over his heart. "As her brother, I know what Natalie has overcome. I also know no one succeeds alone." That sentence almost made me laugh. No one succeeds alone. True. But the people beside you matter. Evelyn had been beside me. Sheila, Lorna, Marcus, Samuel, drivers, clinic managers, shelter staff, nurses. My parents had been somewhere else. Grant looked directly at our table. "Natalie, our family is proud of you. We have always believed you were capable of something special." My father closed his eyes. My mother began clapping. A few others followed. Grant stepped away from the podium. Lydia returned to the microphone. She did not shake his hand this time. "Thank you, Mr. Brooks." The formality landed. Grant moved toward the side of the stage, expecting to remain there. Lydia looked out across the room. "Before we present the award, I need to clarify something important." The scattered applause stopped. Grant's smile remained, but his shoulders changed, only slightly. "Enough," Lydia continued. "Blue Line Medical Logistics was founded solely by Natalie Brooks. Mercer Ridge Partners has never invested in Blue Line, advised Blue Line, owned any part of Blue Line, or participated in its operations." The room became silent. Not surprised silence. Sharp silence. The kind that turns every face toward one person. Grant stepped toward Lydia. She lifted one hand without looking at him. He stopped. My mother's mouth opened. My father stared at the stage. Lydia said, "Any statement suggesting a business relationship between these organizations is incorrect." Douglas Harlan leaned back in his chair. The bank president beside him whispered to another guest. Grant approached the second microphone. There appears to be some confusion. Lydia turned toward him. There is none. Her voice remained polite. That made it stronger. Grant laughed once. A thin sound. I was speaking about future possibilities. Those possibilities have been formally denied by Blue Line's counsel. Samuel stood. Not dramatically. He buttoned his jacket and walked toward the stage. Grant looked at me. Not at Lydia. Not at Samuel. At me. His face asked the old question. How could you do this to the family? I did not look away. Samuel reached the stage at 8:11. He introduced himself and stated that he represented Blue Line and my holding company. He did not mention every false claim. He did not need to. He confirmed that Grant and Mercer Ridge had received written notice 6 days earlier, directing them to stop implying a connection. A sound moved through the room, several people inhaling at once. Grant reached for the microphone. This is a private dispute. Samuel looked at him. No, you made the statement publicly. My mother stood. My father caught her wrist. She pulled away. Grant was asked to give a family introduction, she said loudly. Lydia looked toward her. He was asked to introduce an honoree. He was not authorized to claim a business relationship. My mother looked around the room, searching for the place where she usually found control. There was none. Every chair was occupied by someone who had heard the words. Every table had become a witness. Grant stepped away from the podium. I'm not going to participate in an ambush, Samuel replied. Aced his glasses. You chose the content of your remarks. Grant's face reddened. He turned toward me again. Natalie, say something. The room followed his eyes. 90 faces, maybe more. I counted 3 seconds before standing. Ruby squeezed my hand. June whispered, We're okay. Yes, I said. Then I walked toward the stage carrying the leather case. My steps sounded louder than they were. 1, 2, 3. At 12, I stopped counting. Lydia met me at the stairs and offered her hand. I took it. When I reached the podium, Grant remained near the curtain. Samuel stood several feet behind me. My mother was still standing beside her table. My father had not moved. I placed the leather case on the podium. Then I removed the blue folder. Several people could see the faded hospital label. Baby A. Baby B. The room remained silent. My brother said no one succeeds alone, I began. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. He is right. Grant blinked. My mother sat down slowly. I did not build Blue Line alone. I built it with drivers who answered calls at 3 in the morning, with clinic managers who trusted a new company, with employees who worked beside me when our first office shook every time the tire shop downstairs raised a truck. A few Blue Line employees smiled. I built it with childcare workers who kept my daughters safe, with shelter staff who gave us a room, with a retired hospital administrator who asked what I was good at when everyone else was asking what I had done wrong. Evelyn looked down. I continued. But the truth becomes dishonest when gratitude is handed to people who were not there. My mother's face went still. My parents were not part of Blue Line's beginning. Someone shifted in a chair. I looked toward the twins. They were not part of the nights, the contracts, the childcare, the routes, the first clients, the missed sleep, or the risks. Grant moved closer to the stage stairs. Samuel shifted too, not blocking him, watching. My brother did not advise the company. He did not invest in it. He did not help create it. He did not offer support when it was small enough to embarrass him. Grant spoke from the side. That is not fair. I looked at him. Fairness is not the same as comfort. His mouth closed. I rested one hand on the blue folder. This folder came from this hospital 9 years ago. It held the discharge papers for my twin daughters. Ruby and June sat very still. My parents had an empty bedroom. My father had a car. My mother had strong opinions about responsibility. 4 days after my daughters were born, my father drove us from this hospital to Haven House. The room seemed to contract. My mother stared at me. My father's face had gone pale. He left one suitcase on the wet pavement. He handed me 40 Dolden. Lars. My checking account contained $3.17. I opened the folder. The plastic made a soft cracking sound near the taped edge. The shelter intake form is still here. I lifted the page, not high enough for anyone to read, high enough for them to see that it existed. My available funds were recorded as $43.17. My mother stood again. This is completely inappropriate. I looked at her. Which part? Discussing private family matters in public. I glanced toward Grant. He introduced them. Grant stepped forward. I said we supported you. You said you shaped Blue Line. I said we had conversations. You told investors you were my financial advisor. His face changed. Several guests turned toward him. My mother looked confused. She had not known that detail. Good. Not because confusion pleased me, because the truth was separating them from one another. Grant lowered his voice. We can talk about this later. No. One word. Clear. My father finally stood. Natalie. I looked at him. He did not tell me to stop. He did not defend Grant. He looked toward the room. Then he said, She is telling the truth. My mother turned toward him. What? He swallowed. We left her there. The sentence traveled farther than a shout. My mother stared at him. Robert had spent decades standing beside her without opposing her. Now, in the one room where she needed him to preserve the story, he stepped out of it. She looked almost frightened. You agreed, she said. Yes. You said it was necessary. I said what made it easier for me. Her face tightened. He continued. I knew it was wrong. My mother sat, not gracefully. The chair caught her. My father remained standing. He looked at me. I knew when you asked me to turn around. My throat tightened, but I kept both hands on the folder. You didn't. No. The room was silent for 5 seconds. I counted every one. Then Lydia stepped toward the microphone. Tonight's recognition was meant to honor Ms. Brooks' work. The foundation was not aware that Mr. Brooks planned to make claims about her company. Grant shook his head. This has gone far enough. He moved toward the stairs. 2 security officers approached, but Lydia lifted her hand. No one is removing you, she said. You may return to your seat. That was worse for him. Removal would have let him claim mistreatment. Returning to his seat meant passing every person he had misled. He remained beside the curtain. My mother whispered something to my father. He did not respond. I looked down at the folder. Behind the shelter form was the first invoice, then the email from the clinic after the winter storm, then employee agreements, then the sale documents, then the final charitable commitment. This folder began as a record of what happened to us, I said. Over time, it became a record of what people did for us. I lifted the first invoice. $800 in revenue, $112 in profit. Marcus lowered his head and smiled. I placed it down. This email came from a clinic after our drivers delivered urgent medical equipment through an ice storm. Another page. This is the employment agreement that created our first child care support program. Another. These are the names of employees who received bonuses after the Blue Line transaction. I looked toward my family. The money did not come from our family. The company did not come from our family. And the future of that money does not belong to our family. My mother stood a third time. What are you saying? There was no performance left in her voice. Only fear. At 8:26, Priya Shah approached the stage. She carried a black document binder. Lydia introduced her as the senior private bank executive overseeing the charitable transfer. Grant stared at her. He understood first. He had heard her name in my office. He knew she was not there for an award. Priya stood beside me. She faced the room. I can confirm that the funds described tonight belong to Natalie Brooks through her individual and trust-controlled assets. No member of her extended family holds any claim, beneficiary right, advisory authority, or approval power over those funds. My mother's hand moved to the pearls at her neck. Grant said, "How much?" The microphone picked it up. 2 words. Bear. Hungry. The room heard. I looked at him. He realized what he had revealed. Too late. Priya opened the black binder. The charitable commitment has passed legal and financial verification. The first transfer is scheduled for 9:05 tomorrow morning. The time was deliberate, final. My mother looked at the binder, then at me. "Natalie, how much are you giving?" I did not answer her. I turned toward Lydia. She nodded. The screen behind us changed. One number appeared in white against a dark blue background. $100,000. For 1 second, no one reacted. The number was too large to absorb quickly. Then the room moved. Gasps, whispers, a glass striking a plate. Someone near the back said, "Oh my God." Ruby's hand flew to her mouth. She knew the amount, but seeing it behind me still affected her. June looked at Evelyn. Evelyn did not look at the screen. She looked at me. My mother gripped the back of her chair. Grant stepped onto the first stage stair. 100 million? Security moved closer. He stopped. "Natalie, that is insane." Samuel stepped beside the podium. Grant pointed at the screen. "You cannot give away $100 million without discussing it with the family." I looked at him. I did. "With who?" "My daughters." The room went quiet again. Ruby sat straighter. June put her hands in her pockets. I discussed their protection, their education, their future, and the responsibilities that come with wealth. They are secure. The company is secure. The employees are protected. My mother found her voice. "And your parents? You are secure. You do not know that. I know the value of your home, Dad's pension, your retirement accounts, and the trust from Grandma Mercer." Her eyes widened. My father closed his eyes. Grant said, "And me?" The question was so direct that several people looked away. Not from sympathy, from embarrassment. "You are not my dependent," I said. "Mercer Ridge needs temporary capital." "No. You could save the company with a fraction of this. I could also delay consequences you created. You think strangers deserve it more than your own brother?" I looked toward Evelyn. Then Carla, then the Haven House director, then Marcus and the employees who had carried Blue Line through storms, breakdowns, shortages, and fear. They are not strangers. My mother walked away from the table. My father did not stop her. She came toward the stage. Her steps were fast but controlled. She stopped below me. "You are doing this to punish us." "No. You expect me to believe this has nothing to do with what happened?" "It has everything to do with what happened, but it is not punishment." She laughed once, a sharp, broken sound. "You are giving away a fortune in front of us. I am giving it to 6 programs. You could have done that quietly." "Yes." "Then why here?" "Because the foundation asked to announce the gift. Because this hospital is where my daughters were born. Because Haven House will receive the largest housing expansion in its history. Because employees and nurses and shelter staff are here. And because you wanted us to watch." I considered lying. I did not. "I wanted you to understand." Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. "How could you do this to your father?" My father spoke from behind her. "Do not use me." She turned. He had walked closer. His hands hung at his sides. She stared at him. "You think this is right?" I think the money is hers. I am not talking about the money. Yes, you are. Her face changed. The room watched the marriage between them become visible, not collapse. Visibility was different. The structure had always been damaged. Now other people could see the cracks. She looked back at me. We were trying to teach you responsibility. You abandoned responsibility and called it a lesson. We knew the shelter was safe. You did not know. Dad called afterward to check. Her eyes moved to him. You called? The next morning. You never told me. You did not ask. The sentence belonged to me. Hearing it from him changed its weight. My mother turned pale. She looked from him to me, then at the screen. $100 million remained behind us. Large. Still. Beyond her reach. You made your choice, she said. Her voice shook. The old line. The refrain. The sentence that had traveled from the hospital, to the curb, to the anniversary dinner, to my porch. You made your choice. Now live with it. I looked at her. Yes. The tears on her face stopped moving. I placed my hand on the final document. I made my choice. Then I looked toward my daughters. And now I can live with it. The room remained silent for one breath. 2. Then Evelyn stood. She began clapping. Not quickly. One clear clap, then another. Carla stood beside her. Marcus stood. Blue Line employees stood. The Haven House director. Doctors, nurses, guests. The applause rose slowly, not like celebration at first, like recognition. My mother remained below the stage. Grant stood near the stairs. My father looked down. The number behind me changed. The screen displayed the 6 programs, the Evelyn Price family wing at Haven House. When Evelyn saw her name, she stopped clapping. Her hand covered her mouth. She looked at me and shook her head. I smiled. She pointed one finger at me as if I had violated an agreement. I had. The room laughed softly. The tension broke just enough. Lydia described the programs. $40 million for housing and shelter expansion, $20 million for neonatal and postpartum care, $15 million for child care grants, $10 million for rural medical transportation, $10 million for education and training, $5 million for emergency assistance and long-term program evaluation. Not symbolic, structured, audited, protected. For anyone who has ever been told your survival proves the people who abandoned you were right, comment the word choice. Surviving cruelty does not turn cruelty into wisdom. Stay with me, because the public moment was only the beginning. Consequences rarely fall all at once. They arrive in packets. At 8:40, Lydia presented the award. I accepted it in the name of the Blue Line team. At 8:47, I invited Marcus and the first 4 employees to the stage. At 8:52, I asked Carla to stand. I told the room she had given me the blue folder and the shelter information. She cried. So did I. At 8:57, Ruby and June joined me. June stood at the microphone because Ruby pushed her forward. June looked at the room. My mom says help is not the same as weakness. Her voice was small but clear. Then she stepped back. That sentence received more applause than the $100 million. At 9:02, my mother left the ballroom. She did not say goodbye. Grant followed her. My father remained. At 9:10, several people approached Samuel with questions about Mercer Ridge. He answered none beyond the public statement. At 9:18, Douglas Harlan asked Priya whether his investment group should report Grant's claims to their counsel. She told him to speak with his lawyer. At 9:23, the regional bank president left the room to make a phone call. At 9:31, my father approached the stage. The tables had begun clearing. Ruby and June were eating chocolate cake with Carla. Evelyn was arguing with Lydia about the wing name. My father stopped 3 feet from me. I'm sorry, he said. Not enough, but true. I looked at him. For which part? He nodded slowly. All of it. That is a large answer. It should have been larger years ago. I waited. He looked toward the door where my mother had left. I do not expect forgiveness. That is good. The words were hard, but not cruel. Expectation had caused enough damage. He swallowed. Can I say goodbye to the girls? You can ask them. He approached slowly. Ruby saw him first. She spoke to June. They looked at me. I nodded once. Not permission to love him. Permission to choose. He knelt beside their chairs. I could not hear every word. He asked whether he could hug them. Ruby said yes. June hesitated, then said, just a small one. He respected that. Small. 3 seconds. No performance. When he stood, his face was wet. He wiped it quickly. My father left alone. At 9:45, the last official photograph was taken. I stood beside my daughters, Evelyn, Carla, Marcus, Samuel, Priya, Lydia, and the Haven House director. No one directed me to move backward. No one cropped me out. At 10:12, we left the ballroom. The white roses still smelled fresh. The lemon polish had faded beneath the scent of coffee and dessert. The blue folder remained under my arm. Grant was waiting near the elevators. My mother was gone. He stood alone with his jacket over one arm. His face looked older, not humbled, not yet, desperate. Samuel stepped between us. Grant lifted one hand. I only want to speak. To me? I asked. Yes. Samuel looked at me. I nodded. He remained close. Grant glanced toward the twins. Privately. No. His jaw tightened. Natalie, please. The word surprised me. He rarely used it. What do you want? Mercer Ridge is finished if the bank pulls the credit line. The bank never approved it. They were close. Because you lied. I overstated. You invented. He looked toward the hotel lobby. People from the gala were still passing. He lowered his voice. I can fix the comp. Any. How? With capital. That is not a plan. I have clients, relationships, deals in progress. You also have lawsuits. Those can be settled. With my money. With a loan. No. I would sign anything. No. I would repay you with interest. No. His face twisted. Why are you enjoying this? I'm not. You expect me to believe that? Yes. I just stood in that room while you destroyed me. You stood in that room and made false claims after receiving a legal notice. You planned the whole thing. I planned a donation. You let me speak. Yes. Why? Because you had been speaking for me in rooms where I was absent. His eyes moved toward the folder. You kept everything. Yes. Every message? Every dinner? Every stupid thing anyone said? Not everything. Enough. Yes. He laughed bitterly. You're sick. Samuel stepped forward. I lifted my hand. No. I looked at Grant. A record is not sickness. It is what becomes necessary when people keep changing the story. We were kids. You were 27 when the twins were born. You made choices too. Yes. The line again. He wanted to return it to me like debt. I accepted it. I chose my daughters. And Evan left. He did. Mom and Dad were scared you would become dependent. I asked for 3 months. You know how Mom is. Yes. That answer stopped him. He had expected agreement to excuse her. Instead, it condemned him. He rubbed his forehead. What am I supposed to do now? Tell the truth to your investors. They'll leave. Some already have. Then what? Close the company. Cooperate with the audit. Settle what you can. Find work. He stared at me. You want me to get a job? Yes. He looked genuinely offended. I built Mercer Ridge for 12 years. You rented an office, collected fees, hid risk, and borrowed credibility. You have no right to judge my business. You used mine. He had no answer. The elevator doors opened. I guided the twins inside. Grant remained in the lobby. Before the doors closed, he said, "Mom will never forgive you." I looked at him. She has never forgiven me for becoming someone she could not reduce. The doors closed. The twins were quiet during the drive home. Ruby looked out the window. June held the award on her lap. After 10 minutes, Ruby said, "Grandma looked really sad." She was. Did you want her to be? No. Then why didn't you stop? Because someone being sad does not always mean you are doing something wrong. She thought about that. Like when I was sad because you made me apologize to June? Yes. June looked at her. You broke my pencil. It was an accident. You hit it. Ruby sighed. I know. The normal argument helped. We stopped for fries on the way home. Not because anyone was hungry, because the twins said important nights required fries. We ate them in the parked car beneath a streetlight. The award sat between two paper bags. The blue folder rested on my lap. At 11:58, we reached home. At midnight, the girls were asleep. I placed the folder in the fireproof cabinet. Then I sat in the loose-armed chair from Haven House. The arm no longer moved. I had repaired it years earlier. Still, I checked the screw. One turn, tight. The house was quiet. I expected relief. Instead, I felt grief. Not for the money, not for Grant's company, for the family that had never existed outside my hope. Public truth did not erase private loss. It did not give me a mother who came when I called. It did not put my father's car in reverse. It did not give Ruby and June grandparents who had loved them before. A newspaper photograph made them impressive. Justice could correct the record. It could not rewrite childhood. I sat in the chair until 2 in the morning. Then I went upstairs and slept. At 9:05 the next morning, the first transfer cleared. Priya called at 9:07. It is complete. I closed my eyes. 100? 100 million committed. Initial funds released according to schedule. The rest will move through the approved stages. Any problem? None. I looked out the office window. A Blue Line van turned into the parking lot. No problem, I repeated. My mother called at 9:12. I did not answer. Grant called at 9:14. I did not answer. My father sent a message at 9:20. I will not ask you to change anything. I am sorry. I read it twice, then saved it. Not in the blue folder, in a new folder, apologies. It contained 1 page. By 10:30, news of the donation had spread through local media. By noon, national healthcare publications reported it. Most articles focused on the programs. A few focused on the amount. One mentioned the unusual public correction involving Mercer Ridge. Samuel issued one statement. Blue Line had no relationship with Mercer Ridge. The charitable gift was independent. No further comment. That was enough. Grant issued a longer statement. He described his remarks as a misunderstanding arising from informal family discussions. Douglas Harlan released the original email to his lawyer. The phrase family approval was expected appeared in the bank's internal review. Grant's explanation weakened before lunch. Within 3 days, Mercer Ridge's largest remaining investor requested withdrawal. Within 5, the regional bank ended all discussion. Within 8, 2 employees resigned. Within 12, Grant announced that Mercer Ridge was entering a strategic restructuring. That meant he could not meet obligations. Within a month, the company closed. There were no police at his door, no handcuffs, no dramatic courtroom, just boxes carried from a glass office. A lease terminated early. Client records transferred. Lawyers sending letters. An audit continuing without him. Procedural justice. Clean. Slow. public enough. My mother did not contact me for 11 days. Then she sent a 6-page email. The subject line was family. I read the first paragraph. She said she had been humiliated. The second said Grant's words had been misinterpreted. The third said my father had betrayed her in public. The fourth said I had used childhood pain to justify cruelty. The fifth mentioned the twins. I stopped there. Samuel offered to read the rest. I told him no. Some documents did not deserve preservation. I deleted it. She sent another email the next day. Shorter. Your father has moved into a hotel. I did not reply. A week later, my father called. I answered. Are you safe? I asked. Yes. Is Mom? Yes. Then what do you need? I don't know. That was the most honest answer he had ever given me. He told me they had separated. Not legally, not permanently, he said. He had left after my mother accused him of choosing me over her. I did not choose you, he said. Not when I should have. I remained silent. I only stopped helping her deny it. That was a choice. Yes. He asked whether he could see the twins. I told him he could write to them first. Not call, not arrive. Write. He sent 2 letters, one for Ruby, one for June. Different letters, not copied. He apologized for missing birthdays, for allowing photographs to replace visits, for acting like silence was harmless. He did not ask them to forgive him. He did not mention money. I gave the letters to the girls. Ruby read hers twice. June put hers in a drawer. A week later, she asked whether she had to answer. No. Will Grandpa be sad? Probably. Is it wrong if I don't answer yet? No. She nodded. I want to wait. She waited 3 months. Ruby replied first. She wrote 4 sentences. You can come to my school concert. Please do not bring Grandma or Uncle Grant. Do not post pictures. You can say hello afterward. My father accepted every condition. He came alone. He sat in the last row. He did not approach until Ruby waved. He hugged her after asking. He gave June a small nod. She nodded back. That was all. A beginning should not be confused with repair. But it was a beginning. My mother learned about the concert through someone else. She sent me a message accusing me of dividing the family. I blocked her number. Not forever. For peace. There was no ceremony, no final speech. I pressed one button. Silence followed. It felt clean. 3 months after the gala, the Haven House expansion began. The old building remained, including the red doors. Construction crews cleared the lot beside it. Ruby and June attended the groundbreaking. Evelyn wore a hard hat over her gray hair and complained about the name on the sign. The Evelyn Price Family Wing. It's too large, she said. The wing? My name. You spent 31 years running hospital operations and another decade helping mothers. That does not mean my name needs to be on a wall. It does this time. She looked at me. You are becoming difficult. I learned from the best. She laughed. Then she cried when the first shovel entered the ground. Carla attended too. She brought a new blue hospital folder. For the next record, she said. I accepted it, but I did not use it. The old folder had carried survival. I wanted the next part of my life to hold something else. At Haven House, we created a wall of first invoices, not large checks, not press articles. First invoices, a catering company's first $50 order, a cleaning service's first office contract, a seamstress's first paid alteration, a driver's first delivery receipt, a child care worker's first license approval. We framed the beginnings because beginnings are where people are most often mocked. By the time success appears, everyone claims they saw it coming. They did not. For anyone who has built something quietly, while others called it small, comment the word beginning. The first proof rarely looks impressive. Protect it anyway. Subscribe and stay close to stories that remind you dignity does not need permission. 6 months after the gala, Grant asked to meet. He did not call directly. He sent a letter through Samuel. The letter was 1 page, no accusations, no request for money. He said the audit had found serious reporting failures. He had settled 2 claims by selling his apartment and most of his investments. He had taken a financial analyst position with a manufacturing company in Ohio, the same state Evan had moved to years earlier. For a moment, I wondered whether life liked circles. Then I decided circles were usually just people taking whatever work they could find. Grant wrote that he wanted to apologize. Samuel asked what I wanted to do. I'll meet him once. We met in a coffee shop halfway between Bellwether and my office. Public. Simple. Grant arrived early. He wore a blue shirt without a jacket. No expensive watch. No polished speech. He stood when I entered. Thank you for coming. I sat. He did too. For several seconds, neither of you spoke. I did not count. That surprised me. Grant looked thinner. He placed both hands around his coffee cup. I lied. Yes. I lied to investors. I lied to Mom and Dad. I lied to myself. I waited. I thought if I kept saying the relationship with Blue Line was almost real, you would eventually agree because it would be harder to embarrass the family than to go along. That worked on me when I was younger. I know. You were relying on that. Yes. He looked toward the window. A delivery truck stopped outside a pharmacy. I hated that your company worked. The honesty was ugly, useful. Why? Because Mom spent our whole lives telling everyone I was the business one. I know. And you were better. Not at everything. At building something real. I said nothing. He continued. When Blue Line grew, I told myself you were lucky. Then I said medical logistics was easier than investing. Then I said you had good employees. Then I said I had influenced you. You turned every proof into a reason it did not belong to me. Yes. His eyes filled, but he did not look away. I'm sorry. I studied him. For what? For leaving you alone when the twins were born. For mocking the company. For using your name. For making you correct me publicly because I would not stop privately. That was specific. Specific apologies are heavier. They have less room to escape. Why didn't you help me? He looked down. Because helping you would have meant admitting Mom was wrong. And I liked being the child she was proud of. There it was. The architecture. Mother designed the room. Father refused to move the walls. Grant enjoyed the central chair. I kept trying to stand inside. I don't know what happens now, he said. Neither do I. Do you forgive me? No. He nodded. The answer hurt him. I saw it. I did not change it. Maybe someday, I added. But I won't promise something to make this easier. That's fair. We spoke for another 20 minutes. Work. The twins. Our father. Not our mother. When we stood to leave, Grant looked at me. I saw the Haven House plans. They're building quickly. The child care center is good. Yes. He put his hands in his pockets. You did more with the money than I would have. I know. He laughed softly. For once, it was not defensive. Then we left in different directions. I did not invite him into my life. I did not block every future possibility either. Mercy is not the same as access. That distinction protected me. My mother was the last person to change. For a long time, she did not. She attended events without my father. She told relatives I had been manipulated by advisors. She suggested the donation was a tax strategy. She said the gala had been staged. Each version placed her back near the center. I stopped correcting her. The people who mattered had seen the record. A year after the gala, she mailed a birthday card to the twins. No gifts, no photograph. Inside, she wrote, I am sorry I was not the grandmother you needed. Ruby read it. June did not. They chose not to respond. My mother sent no second card. 6 months later, She requested a meeting through my father. I declined. Not from anger, from readiness. I was not ready. Another year passed. The Evelyn Price family wing opened with 24 rooms, a medical office, a child care center, and 6 transition apartments. The first mother arrived with 1 baby, 2 grocery bags, and $9. I did not meet her. That mattered. The program was not designed to turn vulnerable women into characters in my story. She did not owe me her face, her gratitude, or her recovery. The system simply worked. A room was ready, childcare was available, transportation was arranged. A caseworker met her. Information was not failure. Evelyn stood beside me on opening day. She had become more fragile. Her hands shook when she was tired, but her eyes remained sharp. "You can stop now," she said. "Stop what?" "Proving." I looked at the red doors. "I don't think I am." "You were for a while." "Was I?" "Yes." She linked her arm through mine. "It's normal. People who are underestimated often keep lifting heavier things long after the room understands." I thought about the gala, the number on the screen, my mother's face, Grant asking how much, my father saying she is telling the truth. What do I do instead? Live. The word sounded simple. It was not. Living required more than surviving and building. It required leaving space for ordinary days. I began taking Fridays off twice a month. The first Friday, I reorganized my home office. The second, Ruby told me that did not count. So on the third, we drove to the coast. No speech, no lesson. We ate sandwiches near the water. June collected smooth stones. Ruby complained about sand in her shoes. I did not check my phone for 4 hours. That became part of the record, too, not the blue folder. Memory. 2 years after the gala, my father moved into a small apartment near the twins' school. He and my mother finalized their divorce. He did not blame me, at least not to my face. He attended school concerts, one birthday dinner, and a Blue Line employee picnic. He asked before taking photographs. He never posted them. The twins called him Grandpa Robert at first, then Grandpa. Trust changed through small repetitions. Arrival, respect, departure without drama, again, again, again. He never entered my home without invitation. He never asked about the donation. He never asked for money. One afternoon, he came to the office carrying a cardboard box. Inside was the desk he had bought for Grant when Grant was 12. My father had kept it in storage after selling the house. "I thought the girls might use it," he said. I looked at the scratches on the surface, the desk from the bedroom that had remained available while mine became an office. I almost said no. Then June ran her hand over the wood. "It's real," she said. "Yes," my father told her. "Can we paint it?" He smiled. "Any color." The twins painted it green and blue. They used it for homework in the reading room beside my office. I did not tell them its history. Objects could be reclaimed without forcing children to carry the story. My mother wrote to me again after the divorce. This time, the letter contained no defense. She wrote that she had spent her life believing respect came from controlling what other people saw. She said my independence felt like public rejection. She admitted the shelter decision had been cruel. Not mistaken. Cruel. She said she had convinced herself I needed to learn consequences because admitting she did not want the disruption would have made her ashamed. She did not ask for money. She did not ask to see the twins. She asked whether I would read one letter from her each year. I agreed. One letter. No promise of response, no access to the girls, no public posts, no surprise visits. She followed the rules. The first year, I did not respond. The second, I sent 3 sentences. I received your letter. The girls are healthy. I am not ready for more. She wrote back the following year. Thank you for answering. I understand. Maybe she did. Maybe she was learning. I did not need to decide quickly. Forgiveness was not a deadline. Neither was reconciliation. Some people earn their way back in inches. Some never do. The important thing was that I no longer measured my life by whether my mother understood it. Blue Line continued under the new ownership structure. I remained for the 3 years required by the sale agreement. Then I stepped down as chief executive. Marcus became president. He complained for 20 minutes, then accepted. I retained my ownership stake and joined the board, but my days changed. I spent more time with the foundation programs, not as the face. As the person asking whether the systems worked. Were mothers finding childcare? Were transportation grants reaching rural clinics? Were shelter residents getting jobs that paid enough to leave? Were training programs designed around real schedules or around what administrators found convenient? Little things. That was still what I noticed. The phrase no longer sounded small. Little things kept medicine cold. Little things caught forged claims. Little things showed whether an apology was real. Little things told a child whether a boundary would be respected. Little things built trust. One afternoon, Ruby found the blue folder in the fireproof cabinet. She was 12. She brought it to my office. "Can I read it?" I looked at the taped corners, the faded label, the thick stack of years. Some of it. We sat together. I showed her the discharge papers, the shelter form, the first invoice, the cropped holiday card. She stared at the photograph. "Grandma really cut you out?" "Yes." "But kept us?" "Yes." "That's weird." "It was." She looked at me. "Were you angry?" "Yes." "Are you still?" "Sometimes." She turned another page. The first Blue Line contract. "Did you know the company would become huge?" "No." "Did you think you would give away $100 million? I laughed. "I was trying to earn enough for diapers." She closed the folder. "Do you wish Grandpa had turned around?" The question reached the oldest place in me. "Yes." "Even though everything happened after?" "Yes." She looked surprised. "But then maybe Blue Line wouldn't exist." "Maybe." "And the shelter wing?" "Maybe not." "And all the people it helped?" "I don't know." She waited. I touched the folder. "Good things that grow after pain do not make the pain necessary." Ruby nodded slowly. "That makes sense." It did. It had taken me years to learn. My parents' abandonment was not a gift. The shelter was. Evelyn was. Carla was. Sheila was. Opportunity was. My own work was. But cruelty did not become wisdom because I built something afterward. That was the final lie I refused to accept. June joined us carrying 3 bowls of ice cream. She looked at the folder. "Is that the old one?" "Yes." "Are we doing sad history?" "A little." She handed me a bowl. "Do happy history next." So we did. We talked about the apartment above the bakery, the cinnamon smell, the cardboard box bed, the first office above the tire shop. Ruby tying her shoes beneath my desk, June falling asleep inside a shipping box, Marcus finding the birthday card in the used desk, Evelyn circling a contract clause 3 times. The clinic email, the first employee picnic, fries after the gala. That was part of the record too. Not just who left, who stayed. Not just what hurt, what held. 5 years after the gala, I stood outside Haven House on a rainy Thursday in March. The twins were 14. The red doors had been repainted. The new wing stood beside the old building, bright and full. A young mother came down the ramp pushing a stroller. She wore a work uniform and carried a lunch bag. A shelter van waited at the curb to take her to a clinic where she had started. A paid training program. She did not know me. I did not approach her. I watched her secure the stroller inside the van. A staff member handed her a folder. Not blue. Green. She tucked it beneath her arm. Then the van pulled away. Its tires crossed the cracks in the road. 4 soft bumps. I counted them, not because I was afraid, because I remembered. My father's car had once made the same sound while leaving me behind. Now another vehicle carried someone toward work, childcare, and a room she could return to. Same road, different direction. Evelyn stood beneath the awning beside me. She was 81. She leaned on a cane and hated it. "You're crying," she said. "It's raining. You are a terrible liar. I learned from my family. Not funny. A little funny." She smiled. The young mother's van disappeared at the corner. Evelyn looked at the old red doors. "Do you still have the folder?" "Yes." "What will you do with it?" "I thought I might donate it to the program archive someday." "No." I looked at her. "No?" "Give it to the girls." "Why?" "Because it is not evidence anymore." "What is it?" She adjusted her glasses. "An inheritance." The word surprised me. Not money, not property, not a company. A record of what had been survived, built, protected, and given. That evening, I placed the folder on the desk Ruby and June had painted green and blue. I told them it belonged to both of them. They did not open it immediately. June placed her hand on the cover. Ruby looked at the faded label. Baby A, Baby B. "Which one was I?" Ruby asked. "Baby A." June smiled. "I knew I was B." "How?" "B is better." Ruby rolled her eyes. They carried the folder upstairs. Together. That is the part my parents never understood. Money was never the thing they lost. They lost the right to claim the beginning. They lost the version of the story where their absence became support. They lost the power to arrange the room and decide who stood outside it. The $100 million simply made the truth large enough that they could no longer speak over it. My father learned that silence was a choice. Grant learned that borrowed credibility becomes debt. My mother learned, slowly and painfully, that love without accountability is only ownership wearing a softer name. And I learned that dignity does not come from making people regret leaving you. It comes from no longer needing them to turn around. That is my story. Tell me where you listened from, and tell me what you would have done with the blue folder. Subscribe if you believe quiet truth deserves a place to stand. Some families give you a name, others give you a room when you have nowhere to sleep. The second kind taught me what family actually means.